All right.
All right. Hey guys. So this is going to be, it was day 7 of the trial. It was December 7th. It was the day that Jimmy was in court and Danny was not in court. But we are going to be looking at those cross-examination transcripts. And we're going to see if Danny pieces anything together based on what she missed when she wasn't there. And of course, us, as we're reading it, we're going to look at any inconsistencies or possibly any damning evidence against Jonathan Majors in his trial. This whole day is still going to be Grace Jabbari on the stand with Priya Chaudhry doing the questioning. And then we already have Jameer here. He said he's ready like the SpongeBob voice. And then Denise, I'm so glad you're able to make the live today. Yeah, and Jameer is early to the party. So we'll get right in. There's going to be a bunch of commentary. This transcript is 188 pages. That was longer than day 1. That's longer than day 2. So this is going to be across several streams, I'm sure, especially with Danny here. We'll probably have more commentary. So this won't be the end of day 7.
Yeah, because they had her on the stand the entire day that day, right?
Yeah, the entire day. They didn't have to switch anything. And then I think it was a lot more rapid fire questions, which just means more text. I think by her 4th day, where she's only on redirect, there's going to be 3 different witnesses that we'll look at, or 2, because it's Holly and Swain. But, you know, when people are getting on and off the stand, there's a bunch of stuff that's not going to clog up the transcripts. It's just dead time. So,
right.
But this, even though she runs out of the court, I think, twice on that Thursday where Jimmy was there, we still have 188 pages to get through. So buckle up.
Woo!
And no, this isn't a replay. This is, you know, it's a blind read for me. It's a blind read for Danny. Although obviously we all know some background information from court reporters, from what Jimmy has told us about what took place in court on this day. And then, yeah, never mind, just realized. So we'll jump right in. So Jabbari's going to enter. She's still under oath. She understands she's still under oath. And Chaudhry comes up to question. So good morning, Miss Jabbari. Can you see me okay? I can. Yeah, she's like making sure your eyes work, right? Did Mr. Majors assist you with getting your work visa so you could work in the United States? Now, remember, they left off leaving the day before. They were talking, what were they talking about? The car 2. Where were you sitting in the car?
Mm-hmm.
So Priya gets up today and she's just like, was he helping you with your work visa? So
jump right
into it. He put me in contact with his manager who helped me. Yes. So that must be Priya S., I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Jabbari, I just want to make sure we are clear about, when I ask you next questions, what part of the night we're talking about. So just so we can all remember, you and Mr. Majors were in the car driving back from Brooklyn when you saw the text message on his phone. Is that right? That's correct. And then, can we call that sort of car 1? Yes. Okay. And you and Mr. Majors got out of the car, and then you ran up the street, and then after meeting the people, you got back in the car, is that right? Yes. And can we call that car 2? Yes. Okay. And then after, and car 2 is where we were talking about more yesterday, where you said Mr. Majors went to the back, and that you grabbed his shirt or jacket, is that right? I believe that was car 2, yes. And then after that, you got out of the car again and got back into the car with Mr. Majors a 3rd time, is that right? Okay, so Mr. Majors is getting in the car. I believe so, yes. Can we call that car 3? We can. Thank you. And I think Jimmy may have seen a different video than you've seen.
Okay,
because
yeah.
he did go through some description of these things, and I mean we've gone over it twice to get it clear, because he said it was, you know, you can only see bits and pieces of the angle of the car.
And they never released this, but obviously, because
yeah. So we just want to make sure it's one car, but 3 separate entrances into the car. Yes, yes. Would Your Honor prefer I call it car scene 1? No, I just want us all to be on the same page so the witness knows exactly what we're speaking about, and when, and where. The whole night you and Mr. Majors were in the exact same car, right? I believe so. Oh my gosh. Same car we've seen the pictures of, right? I believe so, yes. Same driver, right? Yes. So, I want to ask you about car 1. This is after you saw the text message, right? Yes. Okay. At this point, you said Mr. Majors was sitting on the passenger side in the bucket seat, right? Yes. And you were in the bucket seat behind the driver, is that right? Yes. Did Mr. Majors ever get out of his bucket seat in car 1? Yes, I believe so. I wasn't looking at him, but I felt his weight on me, so I assumed that had to mean he got out of the seat. And did you ever get out of your seat? Not until the door was opened to get out of the car. The door was opened by whom? Jonathan. Yeah, because you see how she tries to leave the nouns out when she's talking about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire time of car 1, you remained in your bucket seat. Is that right? Yeah, or on the edge of it to kind of talk to him, but always in the chair. So does that mean when you say always in the chair? And what'd she say? She was 5'6", right? She said she was 5'6".
5'7".
Mm-hmm. So does that mean when you say always in the chair that your behind was always touching the chair? Is that right? I believe so, yes. I guess that's the phrase of the day, I believe so. And did you ever fall down in the car during car 1? Just make that a little clearer. Fall down on the floor of the car? Miss Chaudry says yes. In the floor of the car while you were in the car before you got out. Before he opened the door? Yes. No. Did Mr. Majors ever fall down? I don't believe so. Were you wearing a coat in the car? I don't recall. Now, if you watch when they're leaving the restaurant, she does not have her coat on. Because I did that video looking at the buttons, and I made a comment about how she's unbuttoned and walking out of the restaurant with no coat, and that I'm saying that liquor has to be feeling good at that point if you're walking out in March in New York. So unless she puts it on while she's in the car, they leave that restaurant and she has no jacket on. So were you wearing a coat?
But she had one in her arm when she was chasing him, so.
Yep. Oh, that's true. Yeah. So obviously, so she doesn't have it on at any point in time in the car unless she put it on and took it right back off.
Right.
So she doesn't recall, even though she's seen the videos. Were you wearing your seatbelt? Yes, but I imagine I took it off. You imagine you took it off? Which is it? The one point we had to get out of the car, my seatbelt was off. Do you recall taking your seatbelt off? I don't recall the exact moment I took it off. Mr. Majors is wearing his seatbelt also, right? I assume so. I don't know. Now, I've never been in an Escalade. Is it one of those cars that, like, once it's moving, it kind of locks up the seatbelts?
The driver's seat, driver and the
driver's wheel.
Seat. Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to have it on in the middle because it won't ring. It won't,
Yeah.
It won't do anything.
Because I was just thinking, if you're trying to lean over and see something, that thing's cutting into your neck, you're gonna undo
it. It locks like any other seatbelt. Once you adjust it to comfort, you'll be stuck in that spot unless you pull it out and make it.
Hey, queen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, like, she has to lean across this whole thing. She doesn't have her seatbelt on.
And obviously, it wouldn't restrain you in the seat if you go flying through the windshield. No, it won't stretch. Once you put it to where you're comfortable, it stays in that tightness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And I feel like just instinctively you're gonna unclick that because you're gonna, especially if you're like trying to lean.
Yeah, you'd have.
It's not gonna let you do it.
And that's why I'm like, what? And then it's the 17-inch gap between the seats. So,
but she believes her bottom was in the seat the whole time.
No,
so
unless she's, what's that superhero that's like the rubber band?
The stretches, yeah.
Yeah.
Flexi. That's not the name. I don't know what they're called. I'm thinking of the SpongeBob version of the superheroes where there's like I forget his name, but like Patrick, he stretches and like his starfish legs all get like stretched out.
Stretch Armstrong or whatever the man is.
So yeah, that must be the only way her bottom can stay in the seat the whole time. Her behind can stay in the seat. So I usually put the seatbelt on. As I said, I don't remember. How did Mr. Majors open the car door? I don't know. Did you see him open the door? I saw the door open. So all these objects just do things by herself in her world.
Yeah.
And did Mr. Majors ask the driver for any help during car 1? Maybe that's why she thinks these doors open on their own. That's why she left the door open the second time she attacks him in the car.
And they close and open. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And did Mr. Majors ask the driver for any help during car 1? Just to stop the car. So that's a yes. Those are the only words you heard him say? It's what I remember him saying. Do you remember him saying anything else? No. Did you ask the driver for any help during car 1? No. You said Mr. Majors put his hands on your face during car 1. Is that right? Correct. Can you show us where? He was just kind of pushing at my whole body. We're talking about your face. He was just kind of pushing at my whole body. So I think maybe pushing like this. It's hard to, yeah, just how I just demonstrated. Do you want to just, yeah. Ms. Jabbari, if you could do those one at a time, and I'll call it out for the record, the first gesture you did. Let the record, and Jimmy described this, she says that she's like mushing somebody, but she's using 2 hands, which I've never used to, as a mush is 1 hand to me, like this.
Yeah, 1 hand mush, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mush. And she's using it, she's describing things with 2 hands here, so now they've got to clarify it to write it down in the record so people like us reading the transcripts can get an understanding of what she's motioning. So, open right hand on the right side of her face. So, I guess how the recording is, they're assuming an imaginary face is in front of her, and she's going to the right side. So, for me, that would be someone's right hand coming here. The thumb would be on the other side for them. And pushing her head. So she must be motioning that her head's being pushed back and pushing her head to the left. Are you to the left? Do the people agree with that? Galloway agrees. The second gesture, please. Of my face? No, what you just did. He was just pushing my face and body with hands and limbs. I wasn't really looking. I could tell you how it felt. But you just gestured it. And now you're giving this response.
Yeah.
And the second gesture you just did right now was your left hand to your chest around your collarbone. Is that right? So, I don't know what side it would be. Yes. And at that time, was Mr. Majors facing you or behind you? Facing me, yeah. So at that time, Mr. Majors, and you remained in your seat, right? Yeah. I think I was kind of on the edge of it, and he was pushing me away, and I was trying to then get his arms away from me, hitting him on his arm. Just to make sure I understand, but you said you weren't looking at him. But now you're facing each other. And you're trying to get away.
Right.
And hitting his arm. And you know you're hitting his arm. Which means you're looking. You see, right?
They can literally turn each other and be face to face in those bucket seats. So she clearly turned her body to face him.
Yeah, because she doesn't allege that she like gets up and is somehow in front of her seat, between the driver's seat and her. And this doesn't make sense to me, because if this was all like a crazy happening, I don't think I would remember details like this. If someone tried to get me to like ask me what my left pinky toe was doing in this moment, I'm not going to try to tell you what my left pinky toe was doing in this moment. It was in my shoe somewhere. I don't know. Right. But she's like really trying to play by play it as if there's like, this is like a football replay. And I just don't get how any person that is trying to recall something that they genuinely experience would actually remember this much detail, or even be trying to. But yeah, I think I was kind of on the edge of it.
I think she likes to muddy the waters to try to confuse people.
Yeah, enough stuff that something must have happened because I have this purple looking finger. So just attribute it to something, because something obviously happened. And then since you're so confused, just decide it happened here.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I was she's sitting on the edge of her seat. Jimmy says, my favorite cousin Danny.
Hey, Jimmy.
And then Selena also shouting you out.
Hi.
Then Carbro says demon scorned after he helped her. Yep. And helped her like more than once. I mean, he's paying for her to be there, helping her with the work visa, getting under her like, you got to be trying to work. Like, why are you not trying to finish this visa application?
Because I'm trying to keep your ass out of here.
And yeah, the actual tour in Danny's car was helpful for me to come to the conclusion that she did not see the text message from her seat. Now in his interview, he's saying that he actually showed it to her. I mean, his version of it makes sense to me, and I think it's like crazy that people are like, oh, when you believe him? And it's like, I don't know. If a man already knows that someone's... Because she tries to say she was able to snatch his phone because he wasn't expecting it to be grabbed.
Somehow he bent her left arm when her right arm was the one that was the most easily accessible. It just doesn't make any sense.
But if you think that he had it the whole time and she's just swinging at him, that makes a lot more sense. And that's why she's also still trying to grab at his coat pocket. Because at the end of the day, I mean, best case scenario, she could get the phone and she could see more than those 2 messages. But she doesn't need to get the phone. She doesn't need to get that phone. And yeah, she'd have to like get away with the phone to like hide herself somewhere in private to look at it. Right. But she doesn't need to have that phone to have seen those 2 things. So just because she's seen those 2 things doesn't mean that Jonathan Majors couldn't have just been holding his phone and saying, yeah, here it is. And she tries to say he wasn't expecting her to grab the phone, which is why it was easy to come out of his hands. But if she's already asking questions about it before she starts to grab the phone, all right, everybody in the chat, pretend you're slipping up and you know that message comes across your screen and your partner sees it. And in that moment, are you going to just like hold your phone loose?
Right.
And you're already going to be like, oh God, and trying to like.
Right. Try to switch the screen or lock the screen or.
It just doesn't make sense. So to me, I think he had to have been on the ready because she said she was talking to him about it before she tried to grab it.
Right.
But who knows? And with her behind in the seat, she's saying, yeah, I think I was kind of on the edge of the seat, and he was pushing me away. Why does he have to push you away? What is he pushing you away from? Why is he pushing you away if he's trying to get his phone back?
Right.
And I was trying to then get his arms away from me, hitting him on his arm, just to make sure I understand. If we can, at this point, are you saying Mr. Majors got out of the bucket seat and faced your bucket seat? His body was facing me, and he was pushing against me, and my body was facing him, and he was pushing against me. What? Was he still in the bucket seat when this happened? Objection, asked and answered. No, that's overruled. Yes. Ms. Jabbari, you were wearing makeup that night, right? A bit, yes. Were you wearing lipstick? I don't recall. Were there any scratches to your face after this incident? I would have to look at the photos. I didn't really look at myself. Weren't you all in the mirror? Talking about how you were struggling for she made it seem like it was a huge struggle to try to take a picture of behind her ear. Like she was standing there doing it for 15 minutes, and now she's like, I didn't really look at myself. You've seen photos from that night, right? Yes. And you said you didn't really look at There you go, Priya. You said you didn't really look at yourself. You did take photos of yourself the next morning, right? Took a photo of my ear and my finger. I believe you testified that when you got home from the club, you went and examined yourself for other injuries, right? Objection, mischaracterization. Rephrase the question. You said when we testified. Go ahead. Excuse me. I believe you testified previously that when you returned to the apartment, you had the opportunity to look at the other bruises and injuries to your body. Is that right? I don't recall saying that. Yeah. Did you look in the mirror when you... I think what I said was I took my makeup off before going to bed. Were you looking in the mirror to do that? I was, as I said, really severely overwhelmed. A lot of pain. I just wanted to get into bed, so I didn't sit and stare at myself in the mirror. Well, you did say you felt hideous, didn't you? She said she testified during this part that she laid down and it was quiet and she was in pain and she felt hideous. So she probably looked in the mirror. She said she feels hideous. Did you use the mirror to remove your makeup? I think I just washed my face and, yeah. How did you remove your makeup? With makeup remover. Can you explain to us what that is? Objection, relevance. I think we know what makeup remover is. Do you want to ask her how she removed her makeup? Not all of us, but Ms. Jabbari, can you explain to us what sort of makeup remover you were using? Just like a face wash. Is it a face wash or a makeup remover? A face wash removes makeup. And how did you remove your makeup with this face wash? Put it on my face and put it on a flannel or something and wash it off. You're saying probably. Do you recall? I recall doing it. I couldn't tell you step for step. I grabbed the flannel, Did you check in the mirror to make sure all the makeup was removed? I don't wear a lot of makeup, so it's quite easy for me to know I got it all off. If I don't see mascara under my eyes, I'm like... So you have to look in the mirror then. If I don't see mascara under my eyes, I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. You would see the mascara in the mirror, correct? I would, yes. You also said that in car 1, and she's like, all right, we're moving on from this because that's obvious. She's so stupid. Why would she even care to try to not say that? Why,
she's just, like you said weeks ago, she's one of those people that doesn't want to take accountability for anything, even if it's the simplest, most benign, nonsense thing. If it means she has to take responsibility for something, she's
it's crazy. And that's why it's so crazy that, because it was, is it Barbara? Who's her female attorney? There's Ross Kramer or whatever, but there's the female one. I think her name is Barbara. It's a female name. But she came out and made this statement that was oh, this GMA interview, whatever. It's a chance at him not to take accountability once again. Yeah. No one's surprised. And it's
rejection. That's your client, lady.
Hello. You would see the mascara in the mirror, correct? I would, yes. You also said that in car 1, Mr. Majors put his hands on your chest. Is that right? At points, yes. Can you show us by gesture again where on your chest? Just like around. Just for the record, the witness has touched the right side of her chest with her left hand between her collarbone and her armpit. Is that right? So I guess like here. I believe so, yes. If there's no objection, the record will so indicate. Next gesture, please. That was the gesture. So it was only one time he touched your chest? No, it was a few times. He touched my neck, my head, my chest. Just anything to keep me in the seat physically with his strength.
There we go.
Let the record reflect the witness made a gesture towards her throat with her open hand, and another gesture on her chest around her sternum. Is that right? So she's gesturing towards her throat with an open hand.
Oh, wow.
So really? Is she just like saying like, oh, he touched my neck, my head, my chest? Is she like holding with an open hand and like kind of like patting? I wonder how this is actually... This is kind of like difficult to get an exact visual of from this. And another gesture on her chest around her sternum. People, any objection? No, I believe that's correct. I think Galloway's confused too. No, I believe that's correct. Whatever. Thank you. Record will so indicate. She's probably like, oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, we do this for the record, but you can see what's happening with your eyes too. But legally, we have to put on the record what is being described because it needs to be done. The judge is like, he like crayons these jurors.
Yeah.
Miss Jabbari, you said he was using his strength, right? Yes. And at that, did you see, I don't know if you saw it, but there's a part in the transcript where something happens, there's an objection. The objection wasn't that big of a deal, but the judge then says to the jury, the witness is about to tell you what really happened.
No.
And I had a moment of pause because I said, that seems...
In the transcript?
Yes. I think it might have been the first day. And wow. I had a moment of pause because that's an implication of fact. Coming from the judge.
Sounds biased. Like, what do you mean what really happened?
And I know, and I'm trying to say, like, obviously, like, the judge is just saying, they might not have been saying that to mean that, but that's something that the judge should have caught and
yeah. I totally missed that because I was handwriting everything. So
I'll go back and find it. It was in
that's crazy.
It was in the first or second day, but when I heard it, I was like, that's a huge issue. That's like you're asserting that what they're about to hear. You're giving instructions periodically to tell people to disregard something, but then you come along and say you're about to hear what really happened from this witness.
Yeah, I think you should flip that because that could be something that can be used on appeal too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'll raise hell about that on X. But yeah, so seeing some instructions like this, I'm like, that's why he needs to stop handing crayons to the jurors, not just in this case, but that's how you end up saying something that in normal conversation, if we had two people disagreeing and, all right, tell us what really happened to your side and tell us what really happened to your side, we would know in context they're telling us their version of it. But when you say that in a court of law where this stuff really matters, word for word, how you're saying it, that's a big deal.
Because if the judge is saying she's going to tell you what's really happening, that sounds like he believes her out the gate.
Yep.
Yeah, listen.
So, you said he was using his strength, right? Yes. And at that time, Mr. Majors, according to you, was 6'2". Is that right? Sorry, what did you say? She never knows anything about him.
But you see, this is what I was telling you about how she gave him 2 inches and an extra 40 pounds.
So he's only 6 feet tall.
He's totally 6 feet. I give him 6 foot and a half inch at most.
Yeah, so he's like not much taller than me because I'm like 5'9", so he's like 2.5.
Right. I'm 5'8" and 9.
Yeah, and I can't picture even when he's buffer. I can't. What did she say? He weighed twice her, so 240 was her estimate because she said she weighs 120 and he was double her. So that would make him 240 according to her. At 6 feet tall.
240 is on that height. That's a pot belly. That's a big booty. That's thighs rubbing together. That's a lot of weight for his build.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But they didn't. That's why I was surprised they didn't object to that because I would have been like, what? That's not his size.
And then thanks for the super chat, Lucky. So. I do a lot of readings of just other cases that I'm interested in, like literally reading them to myself on text and paper. But with other cases, when a YouTuber has covered something, I'm always really appreciative because I can just go and listen to it while I'm like cooking or doing dishes or working or something. So with this stuff, I'm like, nobody's grabbing these transcripts. Like, we should all get them anyway. But I'm like, I'm going to read them because it's way more accessible if you can come and listen to a video of it being read. With your hands can be free because you don't have to hold your phone to read them. So that's why I decided to do it. So I'm happy to do this for other people because I've taken advantage of other YouTubers that made the content listenable. So thank you for your super chat, but it's kind of also just paying it forward for all the times I've listened to someone else read something for hours. And there's the bonus of Danny being here too. So having someone that was actually in the court to give us the, maybe not this day specifically, but still knowing the general, how the courtroom's set up and what the demeanor was like. And then did the DA force her to make a deal? Well, I don't know, because we learned, I think it was yesterday because yesterday was yesterday, as if it really happened in real time. On the day before this in court, it was a split day, so most of the day was cross-examination, but the beginning half of the morning was still direct, and on that part, they got into some of these talkings about the DA. With the prosecution, she's like, oh, there was no deal. As far as I know, the arrest doesn't exist. That's what I was told. The arrest doesn't exist. Then Priya gets up there and is like, how did you hear about that you had an iCard out for your arrest? She goes, oh, I saw it in the news, and I texted Kelly Galloway about it. So I don't think the DA forced her to make a deal because it was Jabbari that panic texted the ADA. And then everything else after that was handled by her attorney, presumably because the DA is like, have your attorney talk to me about this because I don't want these text messages, these records between us. That's not a good look. Did you catch all that stuff? Where she said that where Jabbari was the one that texted Kelly Galloway with the news story about the iCard.
No.
That's how Kelly Galloway found out about it.
That's crazy though. Why would you even let her text you anything? That's crazy. She wouldn't even get my cell phone. She'd have to have the office phone.
I'm telling you, they liked her as soon as they met her. They knew she was a motive. They knew she would be a good witness.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't the judge and the assistant DA have the same last name? Galloway, Perez. Gaffey is the judge. There was also Rachel Pauley at first. So I don't think so.
During the hearings, yeah. Y'all need that information? I mean, I can pull it up.
Yeah, I think it was Rachel S. Pauley, then Judge Michael Gaffey. Judge and the assistant DA have the same last name. I don't think that, because the only judges were a Pauley and a Gaffey, so.
Yeah, and that was in the very beginning. Gaffey was the entire trial.
I had Whataburger for the first time today, guys. Those burgers are huge. I couldn't finish it. Just so, in case you guys ever try Whataburger, they are giant. I was like, why is this bag so heavy?
The whole baby cow in there.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to that. I don't know if we'll get to it again. I think we do because I think Jimmy mentioned it when we were talking. So Priya must bring it back up. But it was like $750 for clothes and $250 for toiletries, hygiene products. So, and then she doesn't know what clothes she claimed. She doesn't know what she claimed. And then she says, none of my clothes were damaged.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. So
and
she's a con artist. There you go.
Yeah, she's just like claiming this, and that's the same. So the victims fund is like tax funded. I think every state has a similar program, but in New York, like, I've had to use it before because I've gotten jumped on the way to work. So like I had to replace my work clothes. So like they gave me money to compensate for like a shirt that I had ripped up. And then my boots were all scuffed up and they said, just put them down. So it was like line item and I got like a check for like $140. And it was you just fill out this process, but you have to line by line what the items are. So I don't imagine that she went and filled out a form and just gave a ballpark estimate and picked a random number. She had to have said what it was that was damaged. And then she's testifying, nothing I was wearing was damaged. So that means...
Isn't that crazy?
So she technically told that could be truthful what she's saying on the stand, but that means she lied to the form to get this victim's compensation fund. This woman who was living and using the credit card of someone else, she goes and secures a $750 and a $250 check from a taxpayer-funded program that's meant for victims.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless they've changed it, and I don't know why they would, because anything like that, they're going to line item it. What type of thing that's run by the government that's meant to give people money doesn't make you say what it's for?
Require specific. Exact.
Yeah.
I just want to know what toiletries cost $200. That's all I want to know.
That magical face wash that you don't need a mirror to see if you took off the mascara.
Right, her special micellar water.
And not for nothing, but she went back to the house after, and I feel like this victims' compensation fund is something that they ask you about there when they were speaking with her. They probably had one of the officers ask her right then and there. She said it was, for me, like they took pictures of like the ripped up shirt right then and there and then had me fill out this form. So she had these pictures taken that same day before she went home with Ben Toddy. Mm-hmm. You know, she had no reason to believe, because I've tried to give the benefit of the doubt to it. I was like, maybe it's because she was missing stuff. She wasn't able to get back from the apartment. She was kicked out, whatever. And they just gave it a gray area. But she was there. She had the choice to pack. She had the choice to take what she wanted. She even stated, like, oh, they're going to tell me when he's coming back. Even though she knew she had a restraining order at that point. Right. She texted her friend that they're going to tell me when he's coming back. Even though he probably wasn't allowed to go back to that property.
Is it? I can't even imagine.
There's a gray area there. So either she wasn't living there long enough that they couldn't put on the restraining order that he had to stay away from the property. Mm-hmm. Because there was no legal right for them to do that for her.
Right.
Or they did live together and she automatically would have had the protective order to be there without him being there. So on one end, she has to be lying in one way, either about the status of, you know, how much claim she had to live there, or the fear of being there because he could come back. She either lied to her friend on the phone.
Had any claim, because in most states it's 20 over. Once you hit 30 days, then you're a tenant. And I don't even think she was there a month at that part.
Well, she flubbed up that timeline too, and I don't really know how to actually straighten it out because she didn't make sense of it. Right. Anyway, I'm like blending in like 3 different days of testimony here, but. And I'm sure I'll only get worse as we get more. But let's see. Where did I leave off? She says, what did you say to Priya, right? And at that time, Mr. Majors, according to you, was 6'2". According to you.
Right.
Priya is slick. Was 6'2". Is that right?
Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah.
That you're a liar.
You said Mr. Majors at that time was 6'2". I believe so. I believe that's his height. If I'm wrong, sorry. That's the only... Okay, we finally get an I'm sorry from her, but it's if I'm wrong. Sorry. And you believe, and it's just about a weight. It's just about like a numerical fact. And you believe he was about twice your weight. She has no accountability. None.
And
you believed he was twice your weight, which would have made him 240 pounds. Is that right? I feel so bad because I'll get off topic and I'll be ranting about something and then I'll come back and Priya goes right into the question I had anyway.
Right.
It was a guess. No, you stated it. You testified it. At the time you're in the car where you just described Mr. Majors was touching your body and your face and your throat. And your face and your throat. You were wearing the same blouse that you were wearing throughout the night, right? Yeah, you know, the one that was like still half unbuttoned. And if you had a bruise here all night, it would have shown. Mm-hmm. And that is the button-up blouse, correct? Yes. And you said that Mr. Majors was unhappy about the number of buttons you had undone on that blouse, right? Yes. First of all, were there any scratches to your chest from Mr. Majors touching your chest area? I don't believe so. Again, I would have to look at the photos. Same as I said before, I wasn't focusing on it. Did you feel scratched? No, I felt pressure and pain. You felt pressure and pain? Yes, yeah. Did you take any photos of any scratches to your chest? I did not, no. Did any of the buttons on your blouse rip? They did not to my knowledge anyway. Which hands was Mr. Majors using to push you during this portion? I don't know, both. I know his arm was firmly out, and he was just pushing me, and I was trying to get him off of me, so both arms. He was using both arms, so both open hands, is that right? I believe so, yes. And at that time, who had his phone? He did. Was it in his hand when he was pushing you? Not when he was pushing me, no. So by the time Mr. Majors had his phone back, is that your testimony? So by this time, Mr. Majors had his phone back. Is that your testimony? Yes. Okay, but he was trying to keep you away by pushing you. Is that what you're saying? Yes. What were you doing that he was trying to keep you away? Trying to ask him about the phone, trying to plead with him. So she's going back. We saw this consistently through her incident stories where she would say, I was trying to talk to him with my words. I was trying to calm him with my words. But here we know she's lunging at him. She's trying to get that phone. She's trying to see what's on that phone. She's doing whatever at him, clawing at him, even slipping up a little bit and saying, he's trying to get me off of him. And then when she's pressed on the inconsistency there, she says, I'm just trying to ask him about the phone, trying to plead with him. She gives these types of, I'm only doing something verbally, not physically.
Right.
And it's the same description we saw her give for these other instances. So to me, now I have to ask, what was the behavior really like? What were her actions during those other incidents when she was saying she was just using her words?
Right.
Because I just picture her chasing him around the house, at least the 3 other different times that she testified about.
If chasing somebody 4 to 6 blocks in the middle of the night in 30-something degree weather is your first response, that means that this is the kind of stuff that you normally do. That is not at the top of my to-do list. I'm going to stay right in that car, go back to the place, and I might be waiting for you when you get back.
And you think someone trying to leave, we've seen her testify a justification that I pulled his coat, I ripped his coat, I pulled at his shirt because he was leaving. So her physical reaction, she feels justified
instinct. Right.
in a physical reaction because someone's trying to leave.
Right. And I'm sure this is not the first time he tried to leave her presence. That's what I'm saying. That could not have been her first time ever doing that when he did.
No, she slipped in her testimony about like when he was going up and down, like throwing her clothes down the stairs and putting things in the trash bins outside. She slips and says that I like run through with my 2 fingers, like demonstrating how she's talking about the thing. Like he's going outside with the bin and then suddenly she's downstairs next to him. So how did you get next to him down there if you were upstairs hiding from him? Right. But she like slips up and makes it clear she's following him wherever he goes.
Right. And she said she froze when she heard him come back in the house. But then you somehow
she's up in his face.
Right. So she's confrontational. She's one of those people that, you know,
what do you mean? Don't do this. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing? Yeah, I can.
You owe her an explanation. You owe her whatever it is that she wants you to give her. You owe her, like, she just won't let sleeping dogs lie. And so this was not the first time that she was pursuing him for more information or more. But then you wonder why you get the reaction that you get.
10,000%. And it's just crazy, like, because I think we've all known that. And then to think of a juror, like at least one juror on there not being able to see that. And again, maybe 1 or 2 jurors did. And then they decided on these 2 charges, like, we got to get out of here because I can't believe we're still sitting here deliberating this. But I mean, I would love for one of them to talk, honestly. I would honestly even love for the sim to talk because I think if he ever did an interview, if he went on TV, I think it would be pretty transparent that he was goo-goo-eyed.
Come over,
like,
Ken.
Like, let him do.
What do you have to say? Come over, Ken.
So yeah, she's just trying to plead with him with her words. And it's your testimony that in response to your asking him about the phone, he was pushing you with a lot of force. Is that right? Yes. But he already had his phone. He had his phone. And at this point, according to you, she don't know. She's probably so sweaty. She's going to cry. She's got like 10 minutes before she runs out of this room crying. So at this point, according to you, Mr. Majors had gotten out of or was in his bucket seat. Is that right? Sorry, will you repeat that? Yeah, that was weird, Priya. She says both. Was he sitting in the bucket seat while this was happening? Yes. Was it before this or after this that you claim Mr. Majors twisted your arm behind your back? He twisted my arm behind my back before this. Before this? Yes. Okay. And where was Mr. Majors at the time he twisted your arm behind your back? Was he in the bucket seat or had he gotten out of the bucket seat? I don't know. I was looking away from him. So, and by the way, guys, the way we're reading this, she keeps planting them as if they're both sitting in their seat, but then they're both looking at each other. But her entire testimony on direct, she's looking the other way. The entire testimony, she is facing the other way. In this part, she's either sitting in her bucket seat or they're both facing each other, which is for her to her right. The whole time. She'll say she's looking away, but she's never said she turned her body completely away from him at all in this testimony. But that was her whole position the entire time on direct.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that she was facing this way with the phone in both hands away from him. And he trying to pry it out of her hands.
This girl. She says, I don't know. I was looking away from him. Because she'll specify looking versus the body facing a certain way. So he could have been in the bucket seat. Is that right? Yes. And Mr. Jabbari, when you claim that Mr. Majors was twisting your arm behind your back, what part of your body was he touching to do that? Sorry, can you say that again? Yeah. What part of you was he holding or touching in order to twist your arm behind your back? He was holding my arm. Where on your arm?
Right.
Again, my face was away from him. It felt like there was some pressure holding me like this way. I was hiding like this. As I said before, I just knew not to fight back. And he was twisting. I don't know what he was going to do. I would be guessing. I wasn't looking. Well, you had no problem guessing all these other times. Okay, yeah, so they keep talking before they're going to reflect what this actually was. But you could feel him on you, right? I could, yes. And where was he touching you? On my arm. Where on your arm? Like, here. My hands. So how is he holding you by your hands? Because now she's trying to panic and say this is when the finger injury happened.
Right.
She wants to start it here. But she's also making it look like all the pressure, all the body. His whole body is encompassing me. My whole arm, I don't know where, but just my hands now. So now they're going to act it out. Let the record reflect the first gesture was to Miss Jabbari's upper arm in the back. Is that your right arm? My right arm, yes. And the next gesture, please. And on my hands and fingers, things like that. Those are my right hand. Your whole right hand? My right hand. Was he applying a lot of pressure to your whole right hand? Yeah. Did it hurt? It really did, yeah. He twisted you holding what part of your body? My arm. When you say your arm, your upper arm, your lower arm, your wrist, your hand, which part of the arm? The place I just pointed at. So, hold on, Judge. Let the record reflect she did point to 2 parts of her body. Do that again. Like, this lower part, and then this upper part again. She said the place I just pointed. That's singular. I wasn't looking. I could just tell you where I felt. Do you want to put that on the record? I'm having a hard time seeing the witness. And Mr. Perez, you saw... And Chaudhry says to Jabbari, you gestured to the upper portion of your right arm, and then your forearm on your right side. Is that right? And my hand, yes. And when Mr. Majors was grabbing your upper right arm, was he using a lot of force? Yes. And did it hurt? Yes. And your forearm, when he was grabbing your forearm, was he using a lot of force? It felt that way, yes. And did that hurt? Yes. And at the moment that your arm was twisted behind your back, where was Mr. Majors touching your arm? The point I previously pointed at. Shall I do it again? Was he holding, and that's supposed to be up here. Was he holding your arm in different positions when he was twisting your arm behind your back? As I said, that's what it felt like, yes. So, it felt to you like Mr. Majors first twisted your arm by holding your upper arm. Is that right? Yeah. And it also felt to you he was twisting your arm by holding your lower arm. Is that right? Yeah. I felt pressure in both those places, my hand and my fingers. At the same time? In conjunction with each other. Did you feel his hand move down your arm? Is that what you're saying? I don't know whether he was using one hand or 2 hands. I wasn't looking. But you said you felt it in both in conjunction. So, Mr. Majors, did you ever feel 2 hands on you? Huh? So, Mr. Majors... Oh, she's trying to ask some questions, switches her question. Did you ever feel 2 hands on you? As I said, I don't know. Because I just realized where you were going with this. That's what's happening here. Mm-hmm. I wasn't looking. I was experiencing the pain and just trying to stay still as possible. Okay. And at any point, was he holding your hand to twist your arm? Excuse me, could you repeat that? Could you read the last question back? So Casey says, you should read the judge says, you should read your last question again. It's right in front of you. Just ask the question. Was he holding your hand? Was he holding your hand when he twisted your arm behind your back? In the motion of it being twisted, at points my hand was in a lot of pain. So I'd seen he was using a hand, whether it was 1 or 2, to manipulate my fingers. So at some point, Mr. Majors was using 1 or 2 hands to hold your right hand and twisted it behind your back. Is that right? I believe so, yes. But your phone, his phone, according to you at this time, was in your left hand. Is that right? Yes. Yes. And this is the pain that you described as excruciating, correct? Yes, one of the times. Was it excruciating in your shoulder? It hurt in my arms, my shoulder, my arms, my hands. It just hurt. It was a quick motion, is that right? No, it felt quite sustained. It felt like he was trying to make me react. He was trying to make me feel pain. And did you feel, and this is like the line that the media took from this day.
Mm-hmm.
And did you feel it in your rotator cuff? Objection, that's overruled. Is that my shoulder? Do you know what your rotator cuff is? I don't know. You know,
Really?
dance anatomy as a visual artist? Like, she's like super anatomical with her type of dance, but okay.
Well, first of all, you take anatomy as like an undergrad, don't you? Isn't that like a Look.
And think about your type about like common sense wise, what part of your body would have a rotating joint? You've got like your leg joints
Right.
to hips and your shoulders. So like where else is it going to be? Common sense.
She doesn't know that stuff.
But she's like a specialized physical like flexibility visual dancer too. There's whatever. I don't know. Can you just point to us on you're wearing shoulder pads, but you could but could you point to us where you felt the pain? Like around here. Let the record reflect the witness is pointing to the front of her shoulder on the right side. Thank you. All of this involves my right arm. Okay, thanks. And where else? That was it. Was it towards the front of your shoulder that you were feeling that? Yeah, it felt like all. Yeah. From that point, did you... Yes, her favorite description. From that point, did your shoulder continue to hurt? At that point, I had a lot of adrenaline running through my body. In those moments of pain, I wasn't aware of them. I wasn't focusing on them, so that's my answer. After you got out of the car, you testified previously that the pain started getting worse. Is that right? I said, I think the same thing. Just I was full of adrenaline, so I was aware my body was going to hurt, but I was running on more of my heart and emotional place then. At some point, did the adrenaline wear off? Yes, the next morning was when it really sunk in. So, your adrenaline went from before 12:40 until the next morning. Yeah. Different elements of kind of shock. I don't know the exact answer to that. But so when you say the next morning, until what time was your adrenaline going? I would say when I got into the apartment that night. I felt quite heavy and tired, and I felt the pain. But when I woke up after having like 2 or 3 hours sleep, so she's saying she slept for 2 or 3 hours, guys. Now she's putting a time on it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I woke up after having like 2 or 3 hours sleep, that's when I felt I had been hit by a bus, like really severe pain through my whole body. So were you full of adrenaline? But she also said she was aware she couldn't sleep on her right side before she fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So were you full of adrenaline at the club? I would say it was probably still an element of just, it was there. I was really upset about the cheating, and that was probably the main thing that was on my mind. The question specifically is about the adrenaline you're describing. Were you feeling the Now, hold on. This whole cheating thing and that being the only thing on your mind, I believe that part, right? But how is that the only thing on your mind when you've come up and testified that every other incident you've dealt with this psychologically abusive man, it's always on your mind how you have to tread so carefully.
Right.
You've programmed yourself to consciously always be thinking about this. And now,
she could never think about herself.
Not once.
She never had downtime to assess her own emotional and psychological condition. But
so you've never programmed yourself to be cautious about, walking on eggshells around him, because you would have. There's no way you wouldn't have thought about that in this moment, even if you were also concerned about him cheating.
Somebody said that was cocaine, not adrenaline.
Well, I mean, there is that weird, I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but there's that weird little thing where she does with Chloe. Like, I don't know what was going on in that moment.
Probably
just a weird hand holder. That's probably why Chloe wanted to admit that she was intoxicated at that point already. Like, I don't know what I was doing. I'm not
asking nothing. I was drunk.
The question specifically is about the adrenaline you're describing. Were you feeling the adrenaline at the club? I was. Yes, yes, yes. And that was masking pain, is that right? Correct. So you weren't feeling pain at the club, is that right? I wouldn't say that was right. Were you feeling pain at the club? Yeah, to an extent, but I was choosing not to focus on it. To what extent were you feeling pain in the club? My finger was painful. I had a headache. I could feel it in my body. And your shoulder, was that still hurting? Everywhere hurt, as I said. Did it hurt you to move your arm at the club? No, not that I recall. You just said everything hurt. Miss Jabbari, after car 1, we know that you met these 3 people on the street, and then there was car 2. How long were you and these three people that joined you and Mr. Majors before you... How long were you and these three people that joined you and Mr. Majors before you got into the car for car 2? How long were you on the street with, we now know, Chloe, Max, and Shams with Mr. Majors? With him? Yes. Again, probably a couple of minutes before getting into the car again? Yes. Before car 2, between car 1 and car 2. Yeah, so when we came, I went around the corner with him. He was on the phone to someone. And then, yeah, I don't know the exact amount of time. I would have to look at the video. Could you estimate for us? A couple of minutes, I imagine. Is that 2? No, like between 2 and 5. I really don't know. And what was discussed during that time? Objection sustained. Were you discussing your pain with Mr. Majors? Objection sustained. Were you feeling pain at that time? I was maybe focusing on his infidelity, how that was making me feel emotionally. That was the main thing running through my body. So the infidelity is the pain running through your body.
Okay.
Miss Poetry here. Was your ear bleeding while you were standing in the street? I didn't look at it. I didn't see. Did you feel it? I did not. Did you feel your hair stick to the back of your ear at all? I don't know if I could feel that sensation. Well, you felt it when you woke up, right? I felt me trying to peel the hair off of the blood. Did you feel any cold air on the back of your ear where the wound was? No, not that I recall. You weren't wearing a hat, were you? I was not, no. Now I want to ask you about car 2. So this is the second time you got into the car. It's also the first time you get into the car after meeting Chloe, Shams, and Max. So this is where you testified yesterday that Mr. Majors got in the 3rd row. Is that correct? I believe that's the time in the car. Yeah. Were the doors of the car open or shut during car 2? I think one of the doors could have been open. Which door? The one away from the curb, so the right door of the car. That would be the passenger side door? Yes. How did you get into the car? Which side? I would have to have my memory refreshed on that. Sitting here, you don't have an independent memory? No, it's like a lot of times it's like a lot of times to remember exactly how I got in and out. I mean, that's what happens when you're chasing people buck wild.
Right.
Do you know who got in the car first? No. Was the car moving at all during car 2? No. Where was the driver? He was outside the car, I believe. He didn't get in the car? At that point, I think he was outside of the car. When you say outside of the car, which side of the car was he out? I think he was moving around, but I believe he stood mainly on the pavement side, the sidewalk side. Sorry. Would that be the driver's side of the car? Pardon? Was he standing by the driver's seat, or was he standing by the passenger seat? He was not standing still in any memory. He was kind of walking around a bit. From car 2, who got out of the car first? Jonathan. Where did you go after car 2? You got out of the car right after Mr. Majors, right? I did, yes. Which side of the car did you get out of? The right side. Would that be the passenger side? Yes. After that, you got in the car a 3rd time. Now this is car 3, right? Yes, I believe so. And Miss Galloway asked you questions about car 3, the time you got in the car. Objection sustained. Did you already tell the jury about what happened in car 3? I don't recall. Who got in the car first for car 3? I would have to have my memory refreshed. It was a long time ago. Do you recall which side you got in? Which side of the car you got in? No. And where did you sit for car 3? Yeah, I don't really have a clear memory of this bit. It was kind of that after that final running out of the car and then moving around. My head was thinking, not me. My head was doing it, not me. Yeah, I want this to be over. He was saying he was going to hotel. Yeah. We decided to not keep doing this, so I was distracted with the thought of the next step. No, he decided to not keep doing this.
The first time y'all left the car.
When you say you wanted this to be over, what do you mean? This kind of chasing around, like asking to see the phone. Who was chasing whom? We were both just running around Manhattan at some point, as we saw, so I just wanted it all to be over.
So now he's taking the high road.
Yeah, we were both just like, look, there's a Tom and there's a Jerry. Jerry would never sit there and say, we were running together around this house while he was trying to catch my ass to eat me. Like, no, that's not how that would ever happen. This was not a situation of us just both running a marathon mutually.
Right. You were chasing him around Manhattan. Is that
I'm telling you, think of this wording. Next time someone tries to say, well, those text messages are so crazy, we have to take her at her word. Take those first March 25th text messages, compare it to those text messages, and then compare it to how she describes this with that car running scene, the sidewalk running scene. This is her way of wording things, and it's delusional. So we were both just running around Manhattan at some point, as we saw, nodding over to the jury, I'm sure. So I just wanted it all to be over. She wanted it all to be over. There was these lovely people there, and I just felt safe with them. So I just thought, yeah, let's breathe. Was Mr. Majors ever chasing you that night? No. And were you embarrassed to have these people around? Objection. While this is happening? Sustained. I wonder why that's...
Right. Wow.
That's not because they're not about to ask him. Yeah. That's not like hearsay. That's not irrelevant. Your Honor, she's been asked about her emotional state. Ask your next question. I don't get that's not... Were you happy to have these people around? You just testified that. If she's testified to it, ask the next question. She said she felt safe, so I'm asking, I thought you said you just testified that you were. Go ahead. Were you happy these people were around? Eventually, yes. They made me feel safe. Well, you said that you're already happy with these lovely people as you get to car 2. So why is the eventually coming into play now?
Right.
Because we know you were screaming with some point after you met them.
30 minutes.
They made me feel safe. Where did Mr. Majors sit in the car for car 3? As I said, that one feels messy in my mind. I don't want to say verbatim. I just don't want to tell while I don't exactly remember. Did you go into the 3rd row during car 3? I don't think I got into the 3rd row. How long was Mr. Majors in the car for car 3? As I said, it's not clear. Time, the memory in my head. What's your best estimate? Objection, sustained. If she was able to estimate all those other things, right. Was it longer? Although, to be fair, I don't think Perez really objected those times. I don't remember objection, so can't sustain an objection if there is no objection. Was it longer or shorter than you were in the car? I don't know. You don't know if you left the car first or Mr. Majors left the car first? Yes, I don't know. So you could have left the car. Objection, objection, sustained. Do you remember anything that happened during car 3? Objection, asked and answered. The court agrees, asked and answered. Where was everyone else? So Chloe, Shams, Max, and our driver, the driver, where was he? Where were these people during car 3? If that means like the kind of end before Jonathan left, yes. Oh, wait. Hold on, wait. So you don't know if Jonathan or you left the car. Did she just slip up that quickly? Am I crazy?
Right. They ask if Jonathan left the car, right?
She says she doesn't know who left the car or when or anything like that, or who left first. And then she said before Jonathan left. So she lied right here, and she gets cut off. And Chaudhry says, oh, Chaudhry knew she got it. She says, yes. She cuts her off, stops her right there, and says, yes. She's a liar. This took, what is this, 20 lines?
Right, but then, Priya shouldn't have called her a liar in closing statement.
Oh, my God. To go to the hotel, they were all in proximity. They were all around the car, I believe. Were the doors open or shut? I wouldn't want to say. I don't know. Did you see how Mr. Majors left the car? I don't recall. Well, you just said Mr. Majors left to go to a She's really sharp. Well, you just said Mr. Majors left to go to a hotel. What made you think he was going to a hotel? It's what he said. And did he say that before he left the car? I don't recall. All these other things you'll speculate and say, if I knew it, he must have said it. Now you don't recall. Did anyone else get into the car with you and Mr. Majors during this time? During car 3? I don't recall. I remember potentially, wait a minute. I remember potentially Shams at one point. Shams was around the car just making sure I was okay. Things like that. These people, she's always making other people verify her trauma. Mm-hmm. These other people were making sure I was okay. Things like that. After car 3, you did get out of the car, right? I mean, do you remember getting out of the car? I recall being outside the car, yeah. Why did you go immediately after you got out of the car? We stood around for a long... I think that's supposed to say where. We stood around for a little while. How long? I'm not sure exactly how long. Was it more than 2 minutes? Objection, Judge. Sustained. Where did you stand? On the sidewalk, I believe. And who was there? Chloe, Shams, and Max, and the driver. Was the driver with you the whole time that you were standing with Chloe, Shams, and Max? He was staying with his car, so... At any point, did the driver leave first, or did you leave first when you were on the side? I don't recall, I don't know. Did you throw anything on the ground while you were standing on the sidewalk after car 3? I don't recall. When you say you can't recall, are you saying you didn't do that, or... Objection, Judge. Sustained. Ms. Jabbari, after car 3, I hate that the objection reasoning isn't given here. Because I want to know what the reason is.
Just objecting just to object. Like what?
And the judge is like, sustained. Ms. Jabbari.
What did she throw on the ground? Did she throw something on the ground? Crap?
It's in the video. It's in the video. Ms. Jabbari, after car... Not a video I've seen, but Jimmy said that you could see it in the video. Ms. Jabbari, after car 3, you said you got into the taxi with Chloe, Shams, and Max and went to a bar. Is that right? Yes. What was the name of the bar? I know now it to be Lucy's. Is Lucy's a nightclub? I believe so. You were there!
No, it was the bingo hall.
Why? Did you pay to get in? No. When you were in, did anyone pay for you to get in? I believe we just walked straight in. Yeah, I think. Yeah. How did you enter Lucy's? By foot. How do you get into the nightclub from the street? Can you describe? You just walk in through the street, through the door. And then where do you go? Into the club. But you didn't know it was a club 2 seconds ago.
Right.
It's on the street level? No. I think there could have been some stairs. I don't exactly recall. Yeah, you don't want to remember those stairs because that's where you're like running into walls and stuff.
The handrail and everything else.
And then that video was online, so she knows what's coming if she talks about it. Do you remember if you went up the stairs or down the stairs? Down the objection to relevance, overruled. As I said, I wouldn't want to say for sure. I want to make sure I saw exactly what I know. You're about to answer. You started to say down until Galloway seems to give you a signal here. So you don't know whether you took the stairs to get in or out? Objection, asked and answered. Sustained. At the club, you said that you had some shots. Where did you do the shots? And by shots, are we talking about shots of alcohol? If we could break that up, Judge. So, just to be clear, I'm asking, when you said before that you did shots at the club, were you referring to shots of alcohol? Yes. And where did you do the shots of alcohol? I believe at the bar. Anywhere else? I don't think so, but I would have to have my memory, what's the word? Refreshed. What was the alcohol you were doing a shot of? I believe it was tequila. And how many shots of tequila did you do at that same bar? I think 1 or 2. Again, I would have to have my memory refreshed. Yeah. Did you have any lime with your shots? With your short. I think that's a typo. Sorry, I would have to have my memory refreshed. You said that you think you did the shots. You knew you did some shots at the bar, but you may have done shots somewhere else, right? It would either be at the bar or the area that they had reserved. I think it was probably at the bar, but again, as I said, I would have to have my memory refreshed. When you say area reserved, that was the birthday party that Chloe, Shams, and Max were going to, right? Correct. And they had a bunch of friends there at a seated area next to the DJ booth, is that right? Yes. And they had their own alcohol, these friends who were having the party at their area, right? Yeah, I believe so. And they were doing shots in that area also? Objection, relevance, sustained. That is kind of relevant, because you can just go up and drink whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But that's why you may have had additional shots. Is that what you're referring to? I believe if I was to have additional shots, it would have been either at the bar or at that area. Did you hold hands with anyone at the club? Chloe, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. Did you dance while holding hands with anyone at the club? I don't recall. Were you twirled by anyone on the dance floor at the club? Possibly. You don't remember, but now it's possible because you know Priya's about to ask you that exact thing.
Without holding hands? Okay.
Were you smoking at the club? Objection. Smoking what? Were you smoking anything? Is smoking allowed in the club? Jabbari answers, I don't know. Why is the judge interrupting the question with his own questions? That's not something I ever really see a judge participate in like this.
He would and ask the question.
I read a lot of transcripts, and this is not like the type of demeanor. Sometimes in between or after an objection, the judge may say like, hey, could you just tell the court what you meant by XYZ? The judge could be the one clarifying a weird question, but it's really rare that a judge just spontaneously comes up with a new question to ask himself.
Yeah.
Like that's very unusual. That's very unusual.
Like he was the damn prosecutor.
No, he's just chatting it up. So, were you smoking anything? Is smoking allowed in the club? I don't know. And then, I don't recall at all. Chaudhry, were you smoking at the club? I don't recall. Were you vaping at the club? I think Chloe had a little vape. Yes. Were you vaping at the club? Objection as to representation. No, that's overruled. Potentially. I would have to have my memory refreshed. So you don't even know if you would take someone else's vape and start...
Right.
Did you pass a note to the DJ at the club? I don't recall doing that. Did you request any songs of the DJ? I don't recall doing that, no. Did you ever hit your head at the club? No. Were you swaying from the amount of alcohol you drank? Objection, sustained. At that point, were you swaying your body at the club? Objection, overruled. I mean, I was dancing, so if that is swaying, then potentially. Would that be on the dance floor that you were dancing? Yes, kind of the whole thing is a dance floor. But you didn't know it was a nightclub, and now you know the whole thing is a club and a dance floor. And
she remembers dancing, but she doesn't remember the DJ. She doesn't.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, listen. And you know she doesn't remember passing the DJ the note, because then that would mean she remembers clocking her head on the DJ booth.
Yeah, and she was like goo-goo-eyeing that DJ too. Like she was like, I don't like being alone. Wink, wink.
Backup plan.
Like, that's really what it felt like. No, there was no, and I bet you that's exactly how she acts at the Glastonbury Festival. No, there was no music on, so I don't, wait, what? Oh, what? This has to be a typo. After you left the dance floor on the way out, were you dancing? So maybe when the club closes, she means that there's no music on. Okay, got it. No, there was no music on, so I don't know. I would have to have my memory refreshed. Did you bump into any walls at the club? Not that I recall, no. Did you hug anyone at the club? Yes. Who did you hug? I remember hugging Chloe. Anything else? Possibly maybe Shams and Max, I imagine, at some point. When did you hug Chloe at the club? I definitely hugged her when I was saying goodbye. Potentially other moments. Some of the other moments I was getting quite upset still, and would have to, have a little cry, and she would give me a hug, things like that. The goodbye hug with Chloe. How long was that? Objection, relevance, overruled. I don't know the exact amount of time the hug was. Was it a quick hug or a long hug? Medium. I don't know what to say. Sorry again. I would have to have my memory refreshed and tell you exactly. And did it hurt your body when you hugged Chloe goodbye? I was thinking more of gratitude. She saved me. In my mood and heart that night, a hug of complete gratitude and thanks. Were you feeling pain when you were hugging Chloe goodbye? I wasn't thinking about it if I was. Is the answer no, that you were not feeling pain? As I said, I was feeling pain everywhere, but I was choosing to ignore it just for an get myself in a mentally happier spot. Do you recall any specific pain you were feeling when you hugged Chloe goodbye? No, a general sense of pain, headache, heady. You said you left the club by taking a taxi, is that right? Yes. What kind of taxi did you take out of the club? A yellow cab. What kind of vehicle was it? Objection as to relevance, sustained. How did you open the door to the taxi that you took away from the club? Using the door handle. Can you tell us the way a door opens? Like a handle on a car, like a sedan? Objection. Excuse me? Just move on. Can you describe the movement of the door to open the door? Yes, like a door handle like that. So she must just be doing that motion. Mm-hmm. So you pulled towards yourself? Yes. And the door swung open? Yes. And then you got in? Yes. And then you shut the door behind you? I believe so, yeah. Yeah, she does have a problem with closing doors. So, I mean, not a weird question to say she believes so, because she really doesn't seem to close her own doors.
Close any doors. She just gets out and they pop open by themselves, like on the Jetsons.
Just to be clear, the door opened the same way the door for the car you'd been in all night opened. Yeah. Objection to the forum, sustained. Mr. Jabbari, just to make sure I understand, did you swing the door open of the cab to get in? Asked and answered, sustained. Did you open the door of the cab with your right or left hand? Objection, asked and answered, overruled. I don't recall exactly which hand I opened to use the door. I don't think I've ever used my left. I'm right-handed. I don't think I've ever used my left hand to open a door. At this time, we would like to show what's in evidence. It's Defense Exhibit 201. This is their compilation. I just require a second while my associate comes to the computer. Is that the compilation video? It is. Ladies and gentlemen, while that's being set up, again, this is the compilation video. This is just like People's Number 5. Well, no, it's not just like People's Number 5. And this compilation video is put together by the defense. It's to help you, the jury, work your way through the video surveillance, and additionally, any of the markings that you see, or any of the captions, obviously, they're not evidence. They, again, are just there to help you in your view of the footage. Mr. Jabbari, before we start this video, can the jury see? Before we start the video, Mr. Jabbari, do you recall me asking about, at dinner, whether as you were leaving, yay, this part, and Mr. Majors went to the bathroom, Whether you went back and finished off one of the drinks and stashed the glass. Do you remember that? I remember you asking me that, yes. Which establishment is this? This is Walter's, where they had dinner before they got in the car. That was car 1. That is the restaurant Walter's, right? Yes. And the district attorney showed you this compilation and showed you leaving with Mr. Majors after he got out of that. Objection to the word compilation. But, well, now it's a problem. But use your compilation and ask questions about it. Please start the video and pause. Read out the exact time. That's Mr. Majors walking at the bottom, correct? And now he's got a hat. Objection, Judge. Let her answer. Mr. Jabbari, if you could answer that question. I didn't hear what you said. That's Mr. Majors that we just saw in the video leaving the table with you and going to the bathroom, right? Yes. And you were in this video at your table. Now, do you guys think she knows what's coming? Because Priya does ask
about finishing off the drink.
Well, but Priya asks, like, the prosecution showed you their compilation of this restaurant. But the prosecution cut this part out of their compilation. This part is not in their compilation.
Not the ones I saw. So
yeah.
They didn't have another one. Right. Cause they
so when Priya asks right here, she's like, so she's saying, Jabbari, you remember seeing video of this restaurant from the prosecution's compilation, right? And then she's like, but now in this one you see the bathroom, right? So I don't know if Jabbari knew this was coming. Like, I really don't know.
Man, okay, gotcha.
Because the People's Exhibit number 5, their compilation video doesn't have this, and now this is the first time. It's not clear that she would have seen this video before.
And I haven't seen this video at all yet.
No, I've requested it so we'll see if we can get it and see it, because there's really no, like, we're not going to get any, like, insights out of it. It's really just for my own, like, haha, look at her going to get her drink. If you could answer that question. But I still think it's also important. I do want to compare it to compilation 5, because I think it's the prosecution bears the burden of proof. They're supposed to pursue justice, and they're the ones leaving things out that would make the witness look less credible against the defendant. That seems like a violation of the defendant's rights. Yeah. And that's across the board.
2 things were a violation. Tracker said, can you please remind us what the was like in the car? Okay, so, like, I guess picture a triangle, right? This is a triangle, but like this way, or let's just do it this way. So the TV is at the point of the triangle, and then you have hold on.
Oh wait, I can do a different screen. Hold on, wait, there you go.
My left and my right. Okay, so the TV is at the top point of the triangle, and then this side is your witness stand. This side is the jury stand. So they're both about 2 feet away, 2 to 3 feet away from the actual screen, but the screen is catacornered and it's about 60 inches. So they can see clearly, because even me being in the audience, I could see it pretty clear, and I'm a good 100 feet away. So they were pretty close. Just picture sitting 2 to 3 feet away from a catacornered 60-inch television.
Okay, let me see.
And that's really close, because TV's that big, you tend to need to be at least 6 feet away to not be cross-eyed. So
yeah, you'll miss like little details if you're sitting.
Yeah, you kind of want to, be a safe distance away so you can see,
And there's a lot of questions, so I'm rolling back. I don't actually know what this specific comment is yet, but Daisy, I saw your comment at the end of the chat on the last stream that we were on earlier today, talking about the 8:50 a.m. timestamp on the March 25th text messages. That 8:58 timestamp actually corresponds with Jonathan Majors saying, "Did you leave the keys?" So Grace Jabbari's last text message was at like 7. She sent a series of 3 text messages from 7:47 to 7:50. I think it was 7:54. It might have been 7:56. And then she calls Holly at 7:56. But the timestamp for 8:50 whatever was for Jonathan Majors sending that "Did you leave the keys? Goodbye, Grace" text message. But this comment here, even the letter mirrors exactly what Jonathan Majors said happened. Like, Priya has always been like bullet point for bullet point. The only thing she was wrong about was, and it's not even on her, is we're going to get this video of what happened in the car. But it's not really her fault that that didn't play out that way. If the camera wasn't recording, the USB drive didn't work, whatever the case may be. It's easy to tell a story when you're telling the truth. JM's story never changed, but Grace Jabbari has selective memory and only believes things existed. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't know the weight or the height. I wonder if these Me Too cronies know that their golden child jabroni hustled the victim services system and the charity. She's hustling that Sanctuary for Families of New York. But to be fair, they lobby too. I mean, they lobby just straight on political party lines, it seems like, from when I looked. So they're kind of the same thing. Not that I'm sure they don't actually help people that could use the help, but as a whole, as an organization, their board of directors, their board of executives, they have their ideologue type inclination as well. And then, yeah, the letter to the attorney dropped the case. She says, Mr. Jabbari assaulted Mr. Majors in a car while attempting to steal his phone. So Majors has always said that she never got it.
He didn't just say that the other night. They've been maintaining that she never got the phone.
Yeah, and parts of these transcripts definitely need to get posted around, especially the part of the judge saying she's going to tell us what actually happened. I know the word is really, and that's not a great word to control. By the way, if you guys are looking at the transcripts yourself, they are searchable. So if you're on a Windows computer and hit Control F, or if you're on a Mac, you hit, I think it's Command is the Mac key. You hit Command F. If you're on mobile, you hit the 3-dot menu at the top of the PDF of whatever PDF you want to look at. You hit that menu, you can search Find in Page. You can search a word, a specific word. Now, I know the judge says really happened, so that key phrase should pull it up. It's going to be the first day or the second day of Grace Jabbari's testimony. But anytime you have these sound bites where you're like, this part of the transcript people need to know about, I want to make a post about it somewhere, you can search and find them in the transcripts really easily, as long as you know one word to search for that isn't the word like the or door or something that'll get you 100 results. But yeah, the more you share this stuff around, the more people will really see. I mean, there's just so many inconsistencies here. I can't stand anybody who lacks accountability. I think the only people that don't mind a lack of accountability are the people that have no accountability.
Right, and that's the Me Too maniacs.
I'm in trouble for not finishing my Whataburger. I have like this giant soda I'm sipping on. I currently live outside the US and you're squandering your burger privilege. I'm gonna wake up. So I'm staying in an Airbnb and like the next door neighbor, there's like cats that fight in the middle of the night. I'm like, when the cats start fighting, I'm gonna wake up and go eat the other half of my burger. It's like a midnight snack. The first instinct when someone flips out is to run away and get a hotel and clear across town. You know what? That actually shows me that he knows he needs to get gone, because I don't know. For me, if I get in like an argument with somebody, probably gonna try to talk it out, right? That seems like the first step. If I have to plan to do something else, something more extreme, it's because it's so bad. It's to this extent. It's gotten to a point. It's not just out of nowhere, an isolated incident.
Right.
And then,
I just wish he would have gone back to his house and locked her ass out. That's what I wish.
Oh, and then, okay, so our visual story, let me know, would you happen to have an email address? Were you able to, you said you just sent it. If you need my email address, it's just kat@katwagner.com. So 2 T's in cat. So if you didn't get to send it, or maybe it was to Danny.
Yeah, I think he sent it to, or whoever that is, sent it to both of us, but I feel like my information should be in my bio, my YouTube bio.
But either way, yeah, real simple. kat@katwagner.com if you guys need to email me something.
I would, but I'm scared of getting spam. I just got rid of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spam messages.
I know, they never end. What if Holly loses work for association because people want to stay out of drama, and Sis came out like this is the real tea since she want to drag me in her BS? So she did get some work through Holly in, I think it was like June or July of 2023. And you remember Jabbari had this gap of work, and then suddenly she shows up, she does this work. And I don't know if there's been anything new since. When her Instagram wasn't privated for a week, 2 weeks ago, I didn't really see recent work that didn't involve something that wasn't already a hired project, except that thing with Holly, which is kind of like, we know her and Holly just got in touch right as this happened. It could have been well, hey girl, come get this work, do this project with us. And then who knows what's happening now. We'll have to see how that plays out. I think it'd be kind of risky forget the Jonathan Major stuff. There's also that issue and people probably aren't aware of it, but if you talk about it on Twitter, the fact that she was talking to a manager about people's private business is a huge issue. Anyone else in Hollywood, anyone that works with the production set isn't going to want that kind of thing because you can't, anything else that happens on set with anybody could go out. Even intellectual property could become an issue if this girl can't keep her mouth shut. Not even like gossip, interpersonal gossip. It could be an intellectual property issue. So who knows, but that sounds like a karma question to me. And then Jonathan mentioned in the 911 call that she was naked from the waist down. Do you think he specifically stated that for his protection? You know, so that's one thing, but I also think it's kind of like maybe you have the idea that she was in the middle of trying to do something like trying to pee and didn't put her pants back on because she was so whatever happened that she passed out. To me, being half dressed is an indication also possibly that something is so wrong with you that you couldn't even put yourself together before you laid yourself down. So something physically must have overcame you.
The need for some.
Yeah. Yeah. But in any case, it's something that's weird and it sticks out to you as a detail. So if something's weird to you and sticks out and you're calling 911, you might not even have a reason that you think it's relevant in your head. You might not have even figured it out yourself, but you think it's weird, it's standing out to you, you're going to repeat it out of your concern to relay to somebody else what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
She's a dancer and doesn't know her anatomy.
Yeah.
When you ladies get your own TV show, please use to push your theme music Salt and Pepper here. Well, I guess I'm the salt. I'm the salt.
That's funny.
I wish Priya had asked, as a movement coach, can you show us the movements he made?
Right.
Can you imagine if she starts like flailing on the thing?
He could be the Cinderella. That's funny.
Yeah, she is real good at feigning.
Oh, yeah.
Dumb blonde persona.
Infantilize, whatever you say, her.
Infantile, yeah.
During the opening arguments.
Yeah, the way that they like tried to come up with 4 different words since they couldn't use the word victim. They tried to slip that verbiage in anyway. They said assault a few times. I think that, to be fair, I do think the judge called one out before Priya even objected to it. I think there was one instance where the prosecution said something, and when he assaulted you, the judge was like, hey.
Hold on now, not too much.
Sweet. And yeah, so
bad boy.
How do we say that? SKNL. I wonder if that stands for something. But they say, God bless the good people, hardworking women, 2024, a new start to be better and change. And that's kind of like a good thing that's coming from out of all of this too, is there are actually a lot of women out here that don't buy into Grace Jabbari's shtick. It's not just even her behavior. It's like what she turns her whole behavior into to create this whole narrative. She's not the only woman doing it. And a lot of the people that support her seem like they follow the same.
Yeah.
Oh, I have the right to stop someone from leaving if they're trying to get away from me. I have the right to know. I have the right to justify grabbing somebody because I feel entitled to get what I want to see. And, that has to be shaken. It's not a good mentality at all.
I have the right to encroach upon your personal space and take your personal belongings and demand an explanation. It's just constant. I don't know, man.
And I am with Tanya here. The more you read, the clearer it gets that the jury got it all wrong. And selective amnesia. She partied like she didn't have a care in the world. With her abuser's credit card. Exactly that. The more I listen, the more and it is. And it's like, I know I'm like laughing through some of this, but that's my reaction to things that don't make sense. Things that are like, is this for real right now? 9 drinks will block pain. It used to be the only anesthetic for surgeries. Oh, yeah, in like every war movie, there's always that scene where someone's arms getting chopped off and they're like, here's the whiskey.
A bottle of vodka and then chop their leg off. It's like, okay. Encore. Well,
listen, Denise, this whole situation could have been avoided if she looked at that phone and saw that message in a different neighborhood. This all would have played out differently because she never would have had a Chloe Shams and Max to run up to.
No, she would have had maybe a Tamika, a Jamal, and
they'd be like, "No, girl, you gotta stand far
didn't.
enough away." She's like, "These cops are gonna drive by, see you standing here, and immediately arrest one of us." So she talks like she's been in a car accident on one hand, and then on the other details are too trivial to remember.
Right.
And don't forget, she remembered the first car. She thought the first part, the driver pulled up onto the sidewalk. Your Honor, I'm not drunk. This girl really knows something. That girl finally knows something. I know, because it's just always... We haven't had that many likes and kind ofs. It's just a lot of believe so's today. They probably told her. Honestly, the prosecution was probably, stop saying like and kind of so much. Don't say something unless you're sure. And then here she goes with the I believe. Yeah, see? Exactly. The adrenaline. I mean, I don't think they'd want us on that show. Let me get back into this. So I know you guys are very chatty and I love it. Tragedy breeds comedy. It's a self-defense mechanism. And then, hey, Michael, how are you? And then keep doing what you're both doing. I salute you both. And then my exes used to get so drunk, he would wet the bed, then pass out. I wonder if that's why she didn't have any panties on after she left the bed.
Yeah, who knows? Nobody ever checked the sheets.
She did mention that she was like trying to go to the toilet to puke or whatever, but it's like that's all so messy that I can't take any of that part of testimony at face value to add up the timeline. So all I know is that she was clearly on the closet floor with the body cam footage, and she kept telling us she passed out or fell asleep on the bathroom floor. Did you catch that crisscross too, where she testified once that she chose to fall asleep on the bathroom floor and then a second time she testified because she passed out and went unconscious, that it was not her control that she fell asleep on the floor. No, I didn't get that one.
I got the one contradictory. It was so warm that she just wanted to lay there.
She contradicted herself.
A blanket, which is weird.
I think she had to clean it up because between those two parts of testimony, she realized the body cam footage was going to be shown. And she had to come up with, if I just passed out, I don't need to explain where. I don't need to know where I passed out.
And that could be why she had a conniption fit when they kept making her watch it.
Yep. I can't wait to get to that. So, that's Mr. Majors that we just saw on the video leaving the table with you and going to the bathroom, right? Let me pull this off and get back on the screen. That's Mr. Majors we saw in the video leaving the table with you and going to the bathroom, right? Yes. And you were in this video at your table. Sir, if you could please point on the screen. Is that the mouse over you? Yes. Great. And is that the table where you were having drinks, correct? Yes. And you had 2 margaritas that night, right? So she says she has 2 glasses of wine at the play. And now she's committing to 2. She called it cocktails in her earlier testimony. Priya's saying margaritas, so now we're up to 4. I believe so. At this establishment, yes. If we could put the time on the screen. Stopped at 11 seconds, starting at 11 seconds. Mr. Jabbari, Mr. Majors went into the back room, correct? That's what we just saw? I believe so, yes. And that's you walking towards the bathroom, is that right? Yes. And you were holding your coat in your left hand, is that right? Yes. Stopped at 21 seconds, stopped at 38 seconds. Mr. Jabbari, that's you walking back to your table where you had dinner, correct? Correct. That's you picking up one of the margaritas that was left at the table, right? It is, yes. And you're taking a sip there? Yes. Starts at 42 seconds. Mr. Jabbari, that is you, stopped at 122. That is you holding the margarita and walking back towards Mr. Majors is in the bathroom, right? Yes. And you're drinking the margarita there. I am, yes. Please play. 152. You just placed that glass on the little shelf on the left, right? I did, yes. Paused at 125. Mr. Jabbari, this is sort of the end of car 1, right? Okay, so now they're going into the car stuff. But with the drink, she just goes and grabs this drink and then she just leaves it somewhere else, randomly on a shelf in a restaurant. That's so sloppy. It's just like, pick up after me. I'm not even gonna put this back down on the table. She leaves it in a random spot. And like in the COVID era, like no matter how you feel about COVID, you know, it's like kind of a little bit more sensitive. You don't want to just put like things that you put your mouth on in a random place.
Right.
So here you are walking around in New York, which had stricter COVID restrictions. This is last year still. I'm in Florida, so there's been none of this anymore.
Yeah,
this has been abandoned since like 2021. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But she's just like drinking this drink, leaving her cup wherever she wants to leave it, just so Majors doesn't see it. And then They're at 125 in this compilation video. So now this must be the car scene. This is sort of the end of car 1, correct? I believe so, yes. And this is what the people and you talked about on your direct exam, right? This video. You've seen this video before. Yes. Stopped at 138. Mr. Jabbari, you had testified previously that the car had pulled up either on the sidewalk or near the sidewalk. Is that right? I believe that's what I thought, yes. It's actually in the 3rd lane from the right. Is that correct? Yes. And there is a moving car that is stopped to the right of the car, correct? A stopped car, yeah. You're exactly right, but a car that is on, is that right? I believe so. Yes. And it was moving before it stopped, is that right? I believe so. Yes. And then I just need a button that just says, I believe so, yes.
Like the Staples, that was easy
Yeah.
button. I believe so.
Just so I don't have to say it. And in the video, if we could look at the lane on the other side of the double yellow line, you see 3 rows of traffic, correct? 2 I see, but perhaps I'm wrong. And the headlights are on the cars that are oncoming, correct? I believe so, yes. And what we just saw, and what we're about to see, is that the light had changed for those cars, and they are now moving, correct? Objection as to those, sustained. How would she know unless she sees it? We just saw, you have to play it. We could go back. So you saw those cars moving in the direction towards you on his left, correct? The oncoming, correct? I could see that they're stopped right now, yes. I believe at one point they will move, I'm sure. If you could just watch the cars moving on the left when we hit play. Yes, okay. The cars are moving, correct? Yes. And the cars are moving while Mr. Majors escorts you to the sidewalk, correct? Yes. Stopped at 158. And we saw 3 lanes of cars moving in oncoming traffic when Mr. Majors escorted you to the sidewalk, yes? Yes. Sorry, I just need a minute. So she needs a break? Your Honor, we could take a break. No, it's all right. Mr. Jabbari, do you need a break or do you want to keep going? I just need 1 second, sorry. Why is she crying? I just need 1 second, sorry.
She can't get her lies straight and she's probably overwhelmed.
Do you need to step outside for a second? I think I'll be okay. No. Can we approach? I'll step out for 1 second. Absolutely. So short pause in proceedings occurs. The witness enters. All right, Mr. Jabbari. And anytime you need a break, just let me know. If we need a recess, just let me know, okay? Thank you. You're welcome. Could you please tell us what the time of the video is? It's 1:58. Please play. Stopped at 2:11. Mr. Jabbari, you just saw Mr. Majors running up the sidewalk towards the bottom of the screen, correct? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, that was you that just ran behind him, correct? Yes. The car behind you that is white, the car is moving, correct? Yes. And you just ran in front of it, correct? Yes. Starting 2:15, stopped at 2:25. Mr. Jabbari, this is another angle of the same portion we just saw, correct? I believe so. We just saw Mr. Majors run off screen to the top right of the screen at the top, correct? Correct. And please put the mouse over. Because it must be blocking something. Is that you, Mr. Jabbari? If we could indicate what section of the screen we're pointing at. Well, at the top of the screen, approximately 2 inches down the street, that is you, correct? Correct. And the white car that is moving to the left of you, that is the same car we just saw, right? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, did you turn to look and see whether a car was coming before you ran in front of it? I could see the car, yeah. You could see the car coming before you ran in front of it? Yes. Hey, that sounds really reckless, doesn't it? Yes, I could see the car was there before I ran in front of it. Starting at 2:39, stopping at 3:52. That was Mr. Majors that just ran past the screen, right? Yes. Stopping at 3:11. That was Mr. Majors we just saw again, correct? Correct. Stopped at 3:15. That was Mr. Majors that just ran across the screen again? Yes. You were not in any of those 3 frames, were you? I don't believe so, no. 3:32. Mr. Jabbari, that is you on the screen, right? Yes. And that is the same screen we just started. Sorry, the same view we just saw Mr. Majors run past, right? I believe so. And Mr. Jabbari, your hair is loose in this scene, right? Yes. And you're holding your coat in your left hand, right? It looks like that, yes. And you were holding your coat when you first got out of the car also, right? So I believe. And you were holding your coat as you ran up the street, correct? I believe so. And you're still holding your coat, right? Yes. And Shaji says, stop. Mr. Jabbari, we just saw you fluff your hair up with your right hand. Is that right? Yes. And so they're stopped at they play at 3:37. They stop it again 6 seconds later. Mr. Jabbari, the woman on the screen in the middle looking at her phone, that's the woman you learned is Chloe, correct? Yes. And do you know who the man to her right is? I believe that's Max. You didn't know that at the time, right? Not until I met them. Correct. And you're not on the screen yet, right? No, I can't see. You're about to speak to these two people, correct? Yes, I believe so. And you didn't know them at this time, right? Correct. And the first thing you say to them to introduce yourself is that my boyfriend is Jonathan Majors, right? It was amongst the conversation I was having to help them
No,
realize I'm not some bad woman with no phone and bag.
it was the first thing you said, actually. But
She is, oh, she sounds like she's seething on the inside with this type of wording. It was amongst the conversation I was having to help them realize I'm not some bad woman with no phone and bag. So you're not worried that you just got assaulted, you're just worried how people will think of you.
But at the end of the day, she does realize that nobody in New York City in that part of town would see her and think she's a bad woman. Her. They would
Yeah,
not.
specifically her.
Right.
No,
With
as
a
in
British accent.
yeah, and like a British, like she's all like done up with that like plaid button shirt, her
Right. And some
coat, the leather
pants
pants. No, as in I think I just wanted to be like, this is happening, this is real. I also wait, why did saying that your boyfriend is Jonathan Majors make you not a bad woman? No, as in I think I just wanted to be like, this is happening, this is real. I also know that he's like doesn't let me speak to people about his actions. So I had an instinct that he would come back down. So I just wanted to not have a big shock, you know, when he came back. I just had this kind of gut instinct. Let me make this like a panic paragraph. Let me make sure I understand. You know that Mr. Majors did not want you to talk about him, is that right? About his actions towards me, or I wasn't allowed to talk about them. But the first thing you say to these people is my boyfriend is Jonathan Majors, right? Yes. They didn't know that about you when they first met you, right? They did not know. And you didn't introduce yourself as Grace Jabbari, did you? I did not, but I don't believe I did, no. You said Mr. Majors didn't want anyone to know about his bad actions, is that right? Correct. But the first thing that you tell these people is about how you just caught him cheating, right? I meant his physical actions towards me, his physical violence. Objection, Judge. Can we approach? So this is where they're gonna push in this stuff. So I've never been on the train that Priya Chaudhry fumbled the bag by getting those text messages in, because
how was that even a fumble?
I mean, I'm sure it'll come up again because she's going to have to ask the same questions when we're talking about the police and the medical examiners, but
So this is where they end up putting in the text message?
no, so they are going to argue that before they start on Friday.
Okay. All right.
But it's because of these objections that they're going to use. I think there's going to be more than just this one. I think because Priya is going to go through and start questioning them about, or questioning Jabbari about, hey, you're saying that you didn't tell the police anything about Majors. You're saying you didn't tell the medics, but here's two pieces of paper you signed with two conflicting statements, and one of them mentions all the stuff you said you were scared to tell people. So what is it? So because she questioned those things, it's going to let these text messages in. But the flip side is you would end up telling Priya, don't ask this stuff that points her out to be a clear and obvious liar.
Right.
So, and to me, those text messages were going to come in one way or the other. The judge was ready to let them in. But yeah, so the alternative here would be for Priya not to say, well, if you said that you're not supposed to tell people, why did the first thing that came out of your mouth, was it his name? If you're in pain at this point, you should presumably have injuries. And if you're disheveled, forget if you have visible injuries or not. If you're disheveled and you're telling someone that your stuff got left in a car because you had to run from somebody and you need help because your boyfriend's abandoning you, that doesn't look good for your boyfriend, even one that's not a celebrity. So you going up and starting any of this is you not protecting the reputation of your partner.
I don't actually think that you protect us.
Yeah, so she's clarifying. I meant his physical actions towards me, his physical violence. Objection,
she's
Judge.
saying that night or in general?
She's trying to say this. I think she's trying to insert drops to give the perception that it's a pattern, like the whole I learned not to fight back thing, because that's what she hears. That's what she hears. That's what other victims say.
Right.
They don't fight back. So she's just checking the dots. Perez objects, they approach, there's a discussion, and then Chaudhry says, can we play the video starting at 3:43? Pause. Miss Jabbari, that's you on the screen in the green and the white shirt, right? Yep. And you just fluffed your hair up with your right hand, correct? Correct. And at this time, according to you, your ear's already lacerated and bleeding, right? I didn't know that that's what happened, but yes, I guess so. But according to you, it happened in the car before you got out, right? And that's the whole thing about this case, right? She never knows. She's like, oh, I don't know, I just believe so. But we're supposed to determine the mechanism of injury beyond reasonable doubt.
Right.
And the only thing that we have here is, after all these, I don't know, I believe, I think, is on Friday on Redirect, we're going to get that one question where they're like, and do you know who caused your injuries on March 25th? And she's going to say Jonathan Majors. But somehow this whole time for us to get up there, she's like, I don't know.
Right. She don't know.
But who knows? I guess that's how it works. And at this time, according to you, your ear is already lacerated and bleeding, right? I don't know that that's what had happened, but yes, I guess so. But according to you, it happened in the car before you got out, right? Yes, correct. So there is no mistake that the bleeding ear is supposed to be from when he struck her in the head. Because now she's saying it happened in the car before she got out. So there's no mistaking that, oh, it got scraped while she was being put back in the car. Which I've always disagreed with that possibility anyway, because the side of her head is not anywhere.
It makes no sense. That it's just right in the perfect crease of your ear, like right there.
Yep, so she's admitting to it. I think she's stuck in a hard place, right? Because she knows that video is right there. She can't just make it up.
And you can hear it.
It's clear. And I know you sound like a crazy lying psycho. Thank God for her complexion and accent. Yeah, she's really lucky about that. And then Danny called it. So I don't know specifically what Danny called, but Danny's called a lot. So I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to agree with it. Okay, and then so for the transcripts, so they are in the description of the video. It should be the second link, because the top link is the GoFundMe for it if you guys want to chip in to get these transcripts, because they were $4.30 or something close to that a page. Someone said $4.50 in the chat earlier, and it's tripping me up, but I think it was $4.30 per page. And they are Grace Jabbari's, Ryan Strick, the digital evidence analyst, Holly Blakey, and Officer Swain. Then right below that, there's a drive link where it'll have all the PDFs. It's by day, so by witness and then by day. So Grace Jabbari, it'll be 4 files for her. So if you want to start from the beginning, you'll want to look for the December 5th file. The second was the 6th, and then so on. But they're all PDF files. You can scroll through them. They're pretty easy to read. And if you look for the 3-menu dot, you can find a word in page if you want to search them for something. So that's how you find those transcripts. And then, oh my God, hold on, wait.
Yeah, I was about to say.
She said it 107 times. I mean, some of it might be Priya reading her response back to her, but we have 188 pages, so on average, this is more than one believe per page.
Right. There you go, there's your answer.
On the warm floor. And hey, Jay. Yeah, man. You know, it doesn't even feel like it takes work or like effort to do. It's like too apparent, these inconsistencies. And then like the white ladies that kept saying, stop hitting me to the contracted Amazon driver, but she on the lady phone actually hitting the Amazon delivery and kicking the package. And there's a lot of stories like this. There's a lot of stories like this, and that's sad. Like, I'm reacting to this like it's entertainment, but it's a sad reality. Let's see, where was I? So they're talking, oh, wait, did it move me because I searched the word believe? Oh my God, I'm on page 2. I know there was just an objection.
It took you to the first occurrence of the word.
Yeah. Objection to the forum. We're talking about the door opening. We're close. This is the dinner drinking. And then 2 margaritas.
Yeah, I would have too, Tanya. We'd probably still be there today.
Oh yeah, sat there with my arms crossed, but they would not have let me through voir dire on the jury. They would have seen, they would have pulled, even without this Jonathan Majors coverage, if they pulled up my YouTube channel and saw, like, because they got rid of that one Innocence Project juror, like, just because I've shared stuff for the Innocence Project, they'd be like, we gotta get rid of that one. 2 inches jury.
I think that if they are very strategic and hopefully get a good appellate judge, they have a very good chance. But you only get one chance, and we just got to hope that politics and allegiance to their cause doesn't skew the view of that appellate judge. In terms of her facing future charges, that's up to the DA, and they've already made it clear they're not going to charge her for anything. But she can be civilly sued by Jonathan Majors and whomever else she's tarnished in the process of this whole thing. I was saying that he could definitely probably get her for tortures. So tort law is basically law relating to damages. So car accidents, slip and fall, libel, interfering in people's business relationships. That's what tort law covers. So she can be sued for torturous interference in his business relationship with he and Priya Sadiani, because that's who fired him when he first got arrested. And Grace testified to going behind his back and talking to Priya as early as.
And then in this too, it seems like she says that he connected her to help her with her work visa earlier in this, or at least he said manager, so maybe it could have been a different manager, but
it probably was still her. But instead of just keeping it business, she decided, because she testified that she didn't like the way he talked to her either. So I guess in watching their interactions, she found a foothold to kind of,
But the thing is, and that could be true, right? That could be, tense managerial conversations, and she saw that as an opportunity to build rapport.
Right.
But at the same time, that could all be made up because all of that, she's the only one testifying to it.
Right. And I said that too. I said she could be, and that might be why Priya didn't come in and testify, because we already know that Grace likes to exaggerate her position in people's lives. And so she could have made it sound like her and Priya were going behind his back, but it might have been a one-way conversation.
But either way, it was kind of like you didn't curb it, and you're in this industry.
Right. Yeah. You're still interfering. You're still compromising his relationship with his manager and under the contractual agreement that they have. And I think I said this on the other, I think it was Dre's, that he got pissed when he found out, because Priya was running it back, and he didn't talk to Grace for like 3 weeks because of that. So either she was playing two sides of the fence, or she was just kind of like, oh, okay, to Grace, and then going back to him and saying, look, you need to do something with this one, because you know what I mean?
That's what I think it is. I feel like, when someone tells you like something once, you might just be like, you'll hear it and be like, oh, okay. And then it becomes like there's momentum now. It starts to build because now they're going to tell you something else again. And then at some point you have to be like, I've already let them say something once, so they think they can do it.
Right.
I think they can keep talking to me. And now it's kind of like, now it's an issue for like, I'm supposed to be someone's agent relationship, managerial relationship. But just as a regular human, like, there's those people that they come to you and they have drama all the time, and even if you want to give them advice, they don't take it, and it just becomes a time suck.
It's just a constant drain.
Yeah,
like trauma dump. Didn't I tell you early on, before even the second week of trial, she came across as very draining?
Yep.
I said that, and it's like everything has proven that she's just one of those people you just want to avoid. Like, hey, how you doing? But no, I gotta go, can't talk.
Or even the way she gets in these panic paragraphs that I'm calling them, in these transcripts, or the likes and the kind ofs. And then we see the limited text messages that we have are these huge blocks of text from her. And yeah, we do get some longer text from Jonathan, but that seems like when he's at his wit's end, right? That's the worst she's got of him. She's brought us the worst text message she has of him. And that's where he finally has the longer text messages. But otherwise, we see him sending like one sentence, 2 words. And she's got 3 paragraphs she'll be sending back. And to me, that's draining behavior. And I say that as someone that talks a lot. I'm full of ideas. I like to, you could do this. And then I'll be like, oh, you could also do that. And it'll be 2 paragraphs I send someone back to back. And if they want to respond to each idea, cool, fine. But in a serious situation, there's not that, you shouldn't have that feeling of entitlement that you can just go on and on and on and on to somebody all the time and expect them to not just listen and answer you, which is one part of communication, but to give you the answer that you want for each piece that you're putting in front of them
until you get it.
And that's really what I get. And as far as the appeal, I mean, I read a lot of appeals, and I think the issue is the appeals court has to want to hear it, first of all, and then the appeals court has to see an issue. And I think the first stage, it technically goes right back to this court. You bring it right in New York. That it kind of worked that way with like some tenant landlord stuff I looked at, where the first appeal would be right back in the court you were in. And usually
the landlord tenant,
and like usually like at that level it can kind of be like they don't really want to hear it because they're the ones that are familiar with the case at its base level, and then you got to go through the motions again to take it to a higher level, and then you got to wait that period of time, like another 30 days or whatever it is. And in this case, since it's higher profile, if that's the case, that's nothing unusual that it would have to go to a second stage, like it goes to the circuit court, the district court, whatever. But each step of the way, if they decide not to hear his appeal and he's got to file it for the next court to try to hear it, we're going to hear every step of the way. They said it stands. They're not going to hear this. They don't want to hear it. Which, if a court doesn't want, if an appellate court doesn't want to hear it, that's not, and they're not reaffirming something. You have to hear it to reaffirm it.
Right.
But the way the public's going to hear that the appeals court doesn't even want to hear the case, they're going to hear that as if it was adjudicated again and reaffirmed.
Right.
And there's a big difference there. But for us, you got to know that you got to be patient, because there's a good chance that unless the judge looking at this right in the Manhattan criminal court wants to sit there and say, yeah, I do want to look at this one issue because I'm really interested in it, we've probably got to wait for it to get to the second hump, the third hump, before anyone maybe even would want to hear it. So appeals take like years.
This is why all the people saying, oh, he should have waited before he said anything. And wait until when? Because this could be another year and a half and he's supposed to just sit there and just let people run with their own narrative. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm not mad at him for doing that interview at all.
No, there won't be any courtrooms because New York is shady.
No.
Cameras, those cameras are typically in the Hollywood courtrooms because after all, it's Hollywood.
But or just like Florida. Florida's a pretty transparent state. Like Florida, our sunshine laws are very sunny.
Sunshine laws, So they do everything from tap your phone calls to everything. So Florida, you'll get cameras. California, you'll get cameras. Arizona, you'll get cameras. New York, you're not going to get any cameras.
So I'm trying to guess where this I'm trying to think of like how Jimmy reported it. I think like if we can get through where they get through the car breakdowns, then we can chop this here. And then if we want to figure out another time, not chop this here right now, we can keep reading and get through the car video walkthrough, because then we could clean this video, cut it off, and then do this again next time we're both available with when they go through the morning, the cops, the Holly Blakey with the rest of the cross. It probably would be like 3 parts because we're on page 50 something now out of 188. So this might end up being 3 parts to get through this crap. But let's see. So Miss Jabbari, the woman on the screen in the middle looking at her phone, that's the woman you learned is Chloe, correct? Yes. And do you know who the man to her right is? I believe that's Max. You didn't know them at the time, right? Not till I met them. Correct. And you're not on the screen yet, right? No, I can't see. You were about to speak to these 2 people, correct? Yes, I believe so. And you didn't know them at this time, right? Correct. And the first thing you say to them to introduce yourself is that my boyfriend is Jonathan Majors, right? Oh, so I was way back. It was amongst the conversation I was having to help them realize I'm not some bad woman with no phone and bag. Why did saying that your boyfriend... Yeah, because she could have just said, my boyfriend and I fought, and he ran away and just left the name out.
Right. Or she could have just said my black boyfriend, and they would have just stopped what they were doing.
They would have gotten the message. Why did saying what your boyfriend is Jonathan Majors make you not a bad woman? No, as in, I think I just wanted to be like, this is happening, this is real. I also know what he's like. It doesn't let me speak to people about his actions, so I had it, but you talk to everyone. Reading this twice, I'm annoyed again. So I had an instinct that he could come back down, so I just wanted to not have a big shock, when he came back. I just had this kind of gut instinct. Let me make sure I understand. You knew that Mr. Majors did not want you to talk about him, is that right? About his actions towards me, or I wasn't allowed to talk about them. But the first thing you say to these people is my boyfriend is Jonathan Majors, right? Yes. They didn't know that about you when they first met you, right? They did not, no. And you didn't introduce yourself as Grace Jabbari, did you? I did not, but I don't believe I did, no. So she runs up. She's like, hi, oh my God, my boyfriend's Jonathan Majors. I never even thought about that, but she doesn't go up, my name is Grace and I need help.
Right. That's what the normal thing to say would be.
Your own name, if at all. Like, I understand not introducing yourself at all if you run up in a panic, but to say someone else's name and not yours. I did not, but I don't believe I did, no. You said Mr. Majors didn't want anyone to know about his bad actions. Is that right? Correct. But the first thing you tell these people is about how you just caught him cheating, right? I meant his physical actions towards me, his physical violence. Objection, Judge. Can we approach? Sure. So this is where we left off a couple minutes ago. Can we play the video starting at 3:43? Mr. Jabbari, what's on... That's you on the screen in the green and white shirt, correct? Yes. And you fluff up your hair with your right hand, correct? Correct. And at this time, according to you, your ear is already lacerated and bleeding, right? I don't know that that's what happened, but yes, I guess so. But according to you, it happened in the car before you got out, right? Yes, correct. So at this point, your ear would still be lacerated. Yes, exactly. And you had just been running, correct? That's correct. And your heart was racing, is that right? Yes. In fact, you're out of breath here, right? I imagine so. I don't recall. At this time, according to you, Mr. Majors had just broken your finger, right? What? Holy shit. I don't know it was broken at the time. Hold on. I'm going to tweet that. Before I go too far and I get to go to sleep. But it had already happened at this point, right? Yes. I don't know it was broken at this time, but it already happened at this... This is the part. This is why transcripts are important. Because it's not a detail, and all respect to Jimmy, because Jimmy is everything that he's described and conveyed through words has been completely accurate so far. But remember, the prosecution's supposed to be able to prove the exact mechanism, when things happened and when, and their only witness besides the driver that was paid for is saying, I don't know that it was broken at the time.
Yeah, track us that constant drain. That's our UK friend ignored until she saw a photo, literally. Yeah, she's something else.
That's insane. I mean, that's huge because there we go. I mean, I personally think it happened during car 2 when she ripped the pocket and was swinging at him. Just saying. Which would make sense if it's starting to turn, she notices it's starting to turn red right at the beginning of the club. Because that would be like 30 minutes after or whatever. But, I mean, that wouldn't explain why she's being twirled around, but... That could have been the alcohol.
Broke her finger.
Yeah, Chloe, that little like weird hand grab thing.
Hey, Chloe, did you break her finger during your little bachata dance or whatever y'all were doing?
Yep, and this is exactly it. It was broken, but I didn't know it then. I only realized it then, and then I'm going to testify it was definitely then that it was broken, and the prosecution's going to say it was definitely then that it was broken. Yeah.
Like, child.
And then she comes off more as a spy than a girlfriend. She drives me nuts. Just reading all this, I didn't know it was broken at the time. I mean, we could kind of see that with the way the case formulated, like how it started out, where the complaint, the language in the complaint had to be updated to say like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And it's only because Jonathan Majors had made his statement and said, you know, she was trying to run into traffic. I put her back in the car or whatever. They went and like worked back some of the description of how this all went down, and that's where they got the idea that she was being thrown into the car door. So they thought they could make something out of that. But as far as the finger, it's her word. It's her deciding that I have a broken finger, and it seems plausible that a finger could be bent when someone's trying to get a phone back. So let me create that story. But then you come on here and say, I don't even know that it was broken at the time. Like, you either feel it or you don't. But it had already happened by this point, right? Yes. Please continue. Is the sound okay? Can the jury hear this? The jury indicates they could hear it. Move on. Go ahead. Pause. Who is on the screen, Miss Jabbari? That's Shams, Max, and you, right? Yes. And the response is just that you just heard, no way, was to you saying, my boyfriend is Jonathan Majors, right? Yes. Continue and pause. You just put your right hand onto your right coat sleeve, correct? I did, yes. Continue, pause. Mr. Bari, that's you putting your hair into a ponytail, right? Or a bun, but yes, putting my hair up. And your right hand is involved in tying your hair into a bun or ponytail? Yes. What is the difference between a bun and a ponytail? Ponytail's like this, and a bun is when it's like that. I bet she's like looking at that one simp juror while she's doing this. Like, no, it's come with the perks of being a ballet dancer. You could do it very easily. So, she says, does the bun require you to use more digital manipulation? No, it's come with perks of being a ballet dancer. You could do it very easily. It does require both hands, right? It requires both hands, yes. And you have a rubber band hair tie around your right wrist, correct? Correct. Yes, right hand, yes. That was you taking the rubber band off your right wrist and using your right and left hand to tie your hair into a bun and affix it behind your head, correct? Yes. And in this video, your right arm is the one that's draped in the coat in this moment, right? That's correct, yes. And that is you gesturing with both of your hands to Chloe, Shams, and Max, right? Yes. And at this time, we are watching you meet these people, right? Yes, you are. Go ahead, pause. At this point, this is in real time, right? This video? Objection, explain that. It's not playing sped up or slowed down, is it? I don't know, it doesn't look like it is, but I don't have that information. That's Chloe hugging you, right? It is, yes. So she's at this point met you for about 30 seconds and she hugs you, is that right? I'm crying, yes, and she's consoling me. 506, pause. And when she just hugged you there, she had her head pressed against your right ear, correct? I guess so. Do you want to see it again? No, I saw it. So they play more of the video, pause. You just told them you know where you live, right? I think that's what I said, yes. And it's because you were asking them to get you an Uber to Mr. Major's apartment in Chelsea, correct? Objection to the characterization of the apartment. Rephrase that question. To the apartment you had been living in with Mr. Majors in Chelsea, right? Yes. And you're offering to pay them back if they'll give you an Uber, right? Yes, yes. 522, pause. You just told him that you saw a text he got, a text from a woman saying, wish I could be kissing you. And I was like, what the fuck? And he literally ran off. That's what you just said, right? I would actually have to listen again. I couldn't decipher that. I'm sorry. Could you play one more time? I could hear it. I just couldn't decipher it. So is she trying to get them to not play it again? Like, what does that mean? Could you play it one more time? I could hear it. I just couldn't decipher it. Pause. Did you hear it that time? I said about the text. I imagine if that's what you say, I'm saying. She's so blubby. Objection, Judge. Yeah, let's move on. The video is going to speak for itself. It's in evidence. Yeah, except they don't ask to see it. So you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to just tell. That's crazy. So don't worry about showing the evidence now and asking questions about it because it'll be there if the jury chooses to ask for it. But why would the jury ask to look at a piece of evidence if they didn't know anything about it that could be interesting or relevant or important?
Right. Exactly.
You could continue playing it. Mr. Bari, one of them just handed you their phone, correct? Yes. And you took it in your right hand. I did, yes. Pause. Mr. Bari, you just removed your bun using both of your hands, correct? Wait, so I kind of remember, like, her hair in this video, but I didn't really pay attention. She ties it up and takes it back down.
Yeah, she just kept doing like I'm doing something and then twisting it and doing, now that I get an opportunity, I'm going to do mine. But yeah, just doing different things to her hair.
Just like fidgety.
Yeah, because she's
correct. Fidgety. And now you're fluffing your hair up with both of your hands, correct? Correct. And your right hand is going through the very area that later your ear severed. Is that right? I would have to rewatch what you mean. We'll just watch from here. No, it's touching around my ear. My ear was severed between where my ear joins to my head. Did it hurt when you just did that? I was not thinking about pain at that point. I was upset. Mr. Bari, there you just brushed your hair behind your ear with your right hand, right? I would have to see it again. It looked to me like over my head. I would like to see again. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, I believe it was over, as I said. The severe was where my ear meets my skull, I guess, whatever that bone is called. But you testified previously that you got that laceration from Mr. Majors hitting the back of your head, right? It felt like a thud on the back of my head. And you did just touch the back of your head, right? I did, yes. Did that hurt? Again, same answer. Just full of adrenaline, really upset, in shock. I was not focusing on any pain I was in physically at that point. They play more video. Mr. Bari, you just moved your hair behind your ear on the right side there? I believe it's the same motion. I was just fidgeting my hair back. Yeah. That's Mr. Majors walking into the screen? It is, correct. Are we talking about the same thing, ma'am? Pardon? I just want to make sure we're talking about the same figure on the screen. Can you look at where the mouse is? Is that where Mr. Majors is? Yes. Judge, if we could describe the screen. For the record, this is the individual in the center third portion of the screen wearing a dark coat and dark shoes. Thank you. So this is where he's walking by. The prosecution did not include this 6 seconds of this video portion in their compilation video. So it just looks like Jonathan Majors shows up. They don't show him continue walking off the screen and then Jabbari following him off the screen.
Right.
Which is very not non-deceptive, right? Thank you. 8:12. They keep playing the video. And Mr. Majors just walked by without saying anything to you, correct? At that point, yes. He wasn't saying anything. Please play. Pause. Mr. Jabbari, the man in the white hat is Max, right? Yes. And the one in the gray shirt is Shams, right? Yes. And Mr. Majors has just walked past you and turned the corner, correct? Yes. And he didn't say anything to you, did he? At that point, no. He was quiet. And you went and followed him, right? Yes, eventually. It was like instantly. We just saw him follow.
Right, and then he kind of went like this, like back up off of me. As soon as he came by, she walked up to him.
And we just saw him
finish walking by before she walked up to him.
No, he was like in motion, like turning, and she was already like, like just like, what's going on? She kind of does the same face in the elevator images too. She's like looking at him like,
right.
We just saw him follow you right there, right? You did, yes. That's Mr. Majors after he turned the corner, correct? So they're talking about Max and the guy is like all
when he decided
following.
He wanted to fight.
But then the next they like go around the turn of the corner here and they're jumping to that part of the video footage. So we just saw that's Mr. Majors after he turned the corner, correct? Yes. And for the record, what time is it? 8:55. That's the timestamp of the video, not like at 8:55 p.m. or a.m. That's the only figure on the screen, correct? No, sorry, you're correct. Mr. Majors on the screen is the black man in the black coat, right? Objection, overruled. They just not want him to say the race? Is that right, Mr. Jabbari?
Black coat.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I wasn't ignoring you, yes. No problem. Sorry if I wasn't clear. Behind him, you are the figure in the dark pants, and I actually can't see very well from here, but it looks like you're wearing the same thing, right? I am, yes, that is me. And we just saw Mr. Majors walk from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen, right? We did, yes. And we saw you jog behind him, right? Yes. That is Chloe, the woman on the screen holding the cell phone against her chest, right? Yes. And she's following you, Mr. Majors, right? Yes. 9:05. During this time, Mr. Jabbari, that we can't see on the screen, you caught up to Mr. Majors, right? So for anyone there are still people on Twitter that are taking that prosecutor's video and saying that Jonathan Majors double-backed. He doubled back to follow and find Grace Jabbari, when really he was just going to the black lane driver. So if it's unclear,
story, like I keep seeing somebody saying fan fiction. It sounds like they're writing a whole nother story.
Yeah, you see me calling people. I just tell everyone they're writing fan fiction because they are.
Like, where did that even come from?
They interpolate their own details into stuff that's going on. But that one, I think Blabette noted that Leave Her Alone account that was coming after you. She's one of the ones that described it that way, that Jonathan Majors doubled back to find his victim. So something along those lines. So they have enough of a following that's on that Me Too.
And sue them for defamation. Nah. Really, like making up stuff. Like freestyling the entire narrative based on what?
A fan fiction. But yeah, so they did not double back. The prosecution cut that part out of the video to not show that Jonathan Majors kept walking by and kept it moving. And that it was Grace Jabbari that followed. But now it's her own testimony here.
But the TMZ video showed it.
Yeah, but I think that's also because they had... well, if that's the case, that might mean Megan kind of cut it out. But I didn't notice a timestamp.
Yeah, you can see if you go to that same thing where he walks past and she walks up to him, follows him around the corner. The footage continues around the corner, and then you see.
But TMZ chopped it up their own way because they don't have those text message annotations. They trimmed those out. Do you remember that? Didn't they cut out the annotations?
I didn't see the time. I'm just talking about the video when they round the corner, and you see Chloe kind of in the back, up in the top left of the screen, kind of coming behind them.
No, so what I'm talking about, and maybe I can just switch the screen quick. Let me find where it was posted, because it drove me nuts when I saw it. Because with TMZ, I don't remember them having the annotations in their video, so I'm gonna have to stop sharing this. Let me pull up a different screen. And then... Oh god, that's loud. Sorry if that's really loud. It's like a loud screaming Jabbari. So at the end of this video... Where does Jonathan come up?
Yeah, that's it.
So like this is like what we remember, right? We all have seen this part. And then the first one to actually go, even though Max tries, is really Grace. But, and this, so Blabette at first thought it was Megan Cuniff that cut it. But if you follow the timestamps of the People's Exhibit 5, the whole video compilation matches up with this timing. This is how their clip of this part goes.
But then there's another clip that I don't know which one is the one that Chillmonger has, but the one that he has.
Well, watch where this cuts right here.
The continuation after this part. Oh, there, yeah, right there.
But you see how they don't, but look what's missing. They don't show her follow. Look exactly.
This is what you're saying.
Yeah, right. So they show him walking, but they stop it right there.
But then it's her. She comes, and then you see Chloe like right up in the top.
So I'm gonna go, and she's pointing back, but it's like, still one of those things where
out of here. Exactly.
It's important visually to see that moment where she's like, and because he doesn't want to talk to her, she decides right then and there. She's the one with the initiative herself to go up there, and they trim that out for. Yeah. Let me. But
I just noticed where he kind of like does his hand, like get the out of here. I feel like that's what he said too.
Like, just go. Like, go on with your new friends.
Go away. Leave me alone.
But that's probably where she's yelling at that point, but my bag. Because when he first walks up, I guarantee you she's not saying, my bag's in the car. She's probably like, what's going on? Talk to me, please.
Yeah. Like, and then once she's like out of sight, she starts acting like herself again.
Well, or she says, well, if you're not going to talk to me, I need to at least get my bag. So you need to deal with me because you're not just going to tell me I can't go get my bag that I left in the car. So
go get it because I'm not getting back in that car.
Yeah, well, her bag was a plan B. That was my thing. Like, she knew she had to get it anyway, but her concern wasn't getting her bag. Her concern was getting Jonathan Majors to talk to her. So during this time, Miss Jabbari, that we can't see on the screen, you caught up to Mr. Majors, right? So that's where we see him after the corner turn that we just saw. I believe so, yes. And you continued to speak to him, right? I'm confused by the wording a little bit, but I spoke to him at that point, yes. What were you asking him about is who the message was from, right? I was also asking him, I believe I was asking him about, wait a minute, I just needed to get my phone and bag. I didn't take from there. You took your coat out of the car, but you didn't think to take the rest of your belongings, is that right? Yes. And you were having like this conversation with Mr. Majors on the street, right? Yes. And Chloe was standing close by, right? I believe so, yeah, she was behind us. And what was your demeanor when you were asking him for these things on the street? Similar, just upset, pleading a little bit, and like, just I was heartbroken. My demeanor reflects that, I guess. You were screaming at him, weren't you? I don't believe I was screaming. I don't recall that. Were you yelling loudly at him? Objection. She says she doesn't recall. Sustain. So all these other things that she says she doesn't recall, like, some of them were objected to.
That? Like, why? Why can't she admit that she was yelling at him, calling him, whatever it was she was doing? Why?
But I'm pretty sure there were a few other instances where they tried to object to certain moments. And again, it's hard because we don't see the objection reasons. So all of these objections should be, sometimes a lawyer will just say objection, and then the judge might ask to explain. But usually the objection would be like, hearsay, relevance, asked and answered.
Right, speculation.
Yes, this would be a speculation. If you don't recall, this would be an objection speculation because you're asking them to speculate to something that they don't actually remember. So that's presumably what's going on here. And I think there were other objections like this, but the judge just overruled them, even though it was a recall issue. It was one of these moments where she's like, I'm not sure, I don't recall, but the objection wasn't sustained, so you don't have to answer. Would anything refresh your recollection? Sustained. All right, move on. So you don't even have the right to ask if something could refresh your recollection. On the screen, we see Max and Shams following, right? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, on the top third of the screen, we just saw Mr. Majors turn the corner, correct? Correct. And Mr. Majors is walking continually down the sidewalk, correct? Yes. And then they're pausing the video. Mr. Jabbari, this is the same street we just saw you and Mr. Majors a few minutes ago run up, correct? I'm not sure. If it is, then yes. At this time, the first time you ran up the street, you were running in the same direction as the cars, right? The video we saw earlier. Sorry, will you say that again? When you were running up the street after you got out of the car, the first time, you were running in the same direction as the cars traveled, right? Where you ran in front of the car. If you could direct your attention where you're running down the street. Good, they must be pointing to something.
Mm-hmm.
Where the white car was when you ran in front of it. Okay. You were running in the same direction the car was traveling, right? Correct, yes. And in this video, from this angle, Mr. Majors is walking in the opposite direction of the direction the cars are traveling, right? Yes. Please play. 10:36, pause. And this is important because that's why they're not just going back to the car where it was left. The driver pulled back up. We know that Jonathan Majors had called, or through the manager, the driver was like, what do I do? They're like, try to find them. And he drives around, ends up going back to a similar area, but he's parked on another side of the street. So the car has actually moved, and Jonathan Majors is going back to the car in its now parked space. So we just saw Mr. Majors begin to jog in the bottom of that, correct? I was looking at Chloe, sorry. We could go back. Do you see him? I see him jogging there, yeah. We just saw Mr. Majors turn around and go back up the sidewalk, correct? Yes. And at the end of the sidewalk, we see Chloe, and I think that's Shams, right? I saw Chloe. I think so, based on what he was wearing, but it's not clear at all. And Mr. Majors is returning towards where you were, correct? Correct. Mr. Jabbari, that's you, Mr. Majors, and Chloe near each other now on the sidewalk, correct? Correct. That's Shams and Max that are walking up, right? Yes. And now you, Chloe, Shams, and Max, and Mr. Majors are standing on the sidewalk, right? Yes. This is the break between car 1 and car 2 we discussed earlier, correct? Correct. And this is where you testify Mr. Majors had his manager on the phone, correct? At some point, before the car came back, I believe, or maybe when the car was there, he was on the phone to Priya. Yes. Sorry, just for the record, that's Miss Satyani, correct? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, at this time, your stuff is in the car, correct? Yes. Mr. Majors doesn't have it, does he? If he did, he didn't tell me. Did he give you your stuff? No. Did you get your stuff back? Yes. You were asking him at the time, as you said, for your keys and your objection overruled phone, right? I believe so. It was part of the conversation. And you testified previously that you were telling Mr. Majors that you wanted to get, at this time, you're talking to Mr. Majors before wanting to get back in the car so you could speak privately about what just happened, right? I know that when the car was there, that was something I suggested at this point. I was talking about needing to locate my items and or still talking about the cheating, things like that. You're talking about the cheating with those 3 people standing there, right? Yeah, I believe I wasn't keeping it secret. Can we fast forward this a little bit? Yes, it's almost done. I'm looking at faces. I don't see excitement. Is it possible to... Oh, that was the judge. I'm like reading it like Jabbari's voice. Is it possible to speed it up or move forward? I assume we're getting to the second car. I hope so, yeah. Me too. Do you know what section of this tape is the second car? It's coming up, sir. It's 6 minutes, 30 seconds of standing on the sidewalk. Is this sped up now? Yes, at 2 times. Pause. And we wouldn't know that from the prosecution's video at all, that's how long they were standing there. Mr. Jabbari, that's the car that just pulled up, right? The car just pulled up, yes. And that's the car you were in all night? I believe it is, yes. Back to normal speed? Yes. That's the driver that just got out of the car, right? I believe so, yes. That's the driver walking towards back in the car, and the car has its hazards on, right? Yes. And the driver just opened the rear driver side door, correct? Yes. And he's reaching in the car, right? It appears so. That's Mr. Majors walking towards the driver, correct? Yes. And he's now standing by the driver with the door open on the driver's side, correct? Yes. Then they play it some more, and a good amount of time goes by. Because this says 1640. Did they cut a time out of here? I don't remember the last timestamp before that. So I think this is supposed to be 16. This looks like a typo. This is supposed to be 1640,
probably,
I think.
Yeah.
And then this is 1729.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was confusing me. But yeah, so under a minute difference here. Mr. Jabbari, at this time, Mr. Majors is standing by the car, and you're standing with those people, right? Yes. By those people, sorry, Chloe, Shams, Max, correct? Yes. Mr. Bari, you've just started walking towards Mr. Majors, right? Yes, well, the car, yeah. Mr. Majors just gestured for you to get into the car, correct? Objection, Judge. If you recall what happened in that moment. I don't recall. I see a gesture, but I don't know what his intention was. Oh, great, because we could do all this interpretation of his intention for all these other times, but now we get to, the judge is giving you an assist here. Point out what the gesture is. Mr. Majors just extended his right arm, pointing into the car where the door is open. Correct. Priya got right on it. She said he's obviously motioning to the door that's open. Yeah, or at the driver. I'm unsure. Can we play it again? Then you approach the car, right? No, I believe I take something from the driver. Looks like a handbag or something. I don't know. I'm just saying what it looks like. So I play a little more video. Mr. Majors just gestured towards the car again with his right arm. Again, I wouldn't be able to tell you where or what he's gesturing to. You did just see Mr. Majors back away from you, correct? I don't know what you mean by that. Can you play it again? That's Mr. Majors extending his right, just playing dumb. That's Mr. Majors extending his arm, right? Correct. And he extended it twice, and you're facing him, and his back is toward the camera, right? Yes. Now Mr. Majors is walking backwards from you. Backwards away from you, correct? He's walking backward, yes. And you're walking towards him, right? I'm walking with him, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Majors is there shaking hands with the driver, right? It would appear so, yes. Mr. Majors just again extended his right arm towards the car, correct? He extended his right arm, I believe, to which I don't know what he was saying at that point. You were talking to him at the time, right? It looks like we're talking to each other. So he's talking to you as he's gesturing towards the car? I guess so. I don't know. Mr. Bari, this is car 2, correct? I believe so, yes. And this is the second time you get into the car, and that's the driver at the bottom of the screen, right? Yeah, I believe so. And the car has its red light sort of flaring in the screen, right? In the shot? Yes. And you testified that in car 2, you were in the car for approximately 2 minutes with Mr. Majors, right? I said that I couldn't recall the exact time, maybe around that time, yes. And that in car 2, Mr. Majors got into the 3rd row, all the way in the back, right? Yes. And that you sat in the bucket seat behind the driver in car 2, correct? Yes. And that during car 2, in that 2 moments, you were talking to Mr. Majors about, just let me see the phone, right? Yeah, I guess along those lines. And you kept talking about these text messages, right? Yes. And according to you, Mr. Majors then shoved you back into the bucket seat, correct? Yes. And show us the gesture, how he did that. Objection, asked and answered. Yeah, because you don't want her to contradict herself.
Mm-hmm.
That's been asked and answered. Go ahead. He shoved you by touching your body, correct? Yes. And that car 2 is where you testified that you grabbed Mr. Majors' jacket or shirt. I believe it was that time. That's what I remember. It was a time in the car. Yeah. Pause. They pause the video again. Mr. Bari, both of the car doors are open, correct? Yes. And Mr. Majors had just gotten in the car about 1 second before the second car door opens on the passenger side, right? I don't know the time. If that's what you saw, then yes. If we could go back and see it again. The video speaks for itself, as I said. Ask the next question. So the judge is like, this judge is a little bitch. Like, how do you do that? This is important.
Because I told you, it depended on if it was something that he was interested in hearing.
This is critical. So the point is, they get in the car, and he has to get right up out the other side because she acts a fool. She turns into a banshee as soon as she gets in the car. So that's why the other door's opening at the same time. So for Chaudhry to not be able to go back and ask the question about the time that's elapsing between the difference in this moment, for the judge to step in without even an objection from Perez is insane to me. There's no objection here, but the judge is just volunteering it.
Yeah, he just, right. I don't know. I don't know, man.
Like, that's crazy.
Sorry.
Oh, bless you.
Again. I'm telling you, they're trying to make me sick in this house.
It's the time of year. The driver is shutting the door, and the passenger side door opens in about 1 second, correct? I believe it's longer than 1 second. Yeah, you believe because you want it to be. See, they're saying is believing for you. And the passenger side door is opening as cars are moving and going up traffic, correct? Sorry, going up on the screen, right? Yes. And the car door is opening in front of moving cars, right? Yeah, I guess so. That's Mr. Majors getting out of the car, right? I believe so. And this is the part where you're grabbing him on his jacket or shirt, correct? Yeah, well, I grabbed him once. As you testified yesterday, you grabbed him with your right hand, correct? Objection, not in evidence. She did testify to that, though. Unless I'm forgetting. So that's technically in evidence now. Just ask the question. And she says no.
She did.
Now she's saying... That's how we ended our last call, like when you were on earlier, right? She said her right hand, and we did the whole thing about how that's the finger that's sticking out. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up right now because that way anyone here...
They're playing too much.
Let me pull up. So I just have the other one on the screen because I don't feel like switching it over. So we're going back to December 16th. Let me just find her jacket testimony because I know she said that word. Pulling by his shirt. All right, so maybe it's blended in here too much, but I'm going to go and look for it because if I search for shirt, they're just going through all these questions to try to get to the right hand. So I just kind of grabbed his shirt.
I remember her saying right. Everything was right. I wonder if I have it somewhere. Let's see.
Unless it was in the beginning of this of this day that we're reading right now. Dun-dun-dun. Because I will go through and I'll loop through that whole thing. But it's just Priya asked about it several different times. So, and the questions are pretty distant from each other. So even though I found the shirt part, she's not questioning him with what hand at the part I'm looking at. But I know she asked like how she grabbed him at whatever we read. So, but I'll come back to that. But I swear that's what I remember. And let me try button. Maybe that's a good idea because shirt was a little, or pocket. Oh, no, pocket of your coat. Damn. Or maybe just the word leaving, because I think that's when she was like grabbing him because he wanted to leave. So I'm gonna, instead of just holding us up on that, I'm gonna look for that. But I do remember we sat there and demonstrated in the video. We're like, well, if she's grabbing the pocket, this is the farthest point of your hand that sticks out, and then she had the bent fingernail. We found so later today in this day she starts asking about the bent fingernail. So I know it was referenced. I'll get it. And this is the part where you're grabbing him. It's somewhere there. And this is the part where you're grabbing him on the jacket or shirt, correct? Yeah, well, I grabbed him once. As you testified yesterday, you grabbed him with your right hand, correct? Objection, not in evidence, just ask the question. No. And you didn't test. And actually, I'm writing a comment to myself. These are on page 406 and 407 for right hand grab no. That way I know to come back, because that's the inconsistency that we got to match it to. So no, just ask the question. Which hand? Which hand was it? He was leaving on the left side of the door. You know what? I think Jimmy, this is why Jimmy said, let me explain this part slowly. And I thought he was going to explain, like, something, like, complicated, but he had to explain it slowly because he wanted to convey the weird description of it that he noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And he noted that he was leaving on the left side of the door. I just recall grabbing the jacket. Yeah, I don't believe... I wouldn't want to say 100% either hand. I wouldn't want to say... Because I think Jimmy noticed when she said the left side of the door that that's against everything that they'd already testified to. She'd already acknowledged, but she's so tripped up in this moment because she just got called out for the right hand thing.
Right.
That now her brain's all frazzled.
He was leaving stuff.
No. And so they play a little clip. That's Mr. Majors trying to get out of the car, right? And Mr. Majors just stepped onto... There's no answer. Sorry. Just ask the question. That was Mr. Majors getting out of the car, correct? Yes. And that's the time where you were grabbing onto his jacket and shirt, right? Well, his outer layer of clothing. And Mr. Majors just stepped onto the little railing, like foot railing, and stood up to try to get out of the car, correct? So they do actually mention the Escalade footstep thing. So Mr. Majors steps on that foot railing and stood up to try to get out of the car, correct? It would appear so, yes. And you're right-hand dominant, correct? I'm right-handed, yes. Play. So they play, what is that, another... What was it? 1906? 1913, so just over, so 7 seconds. That's you that just got out of the car after Mr. Majors, right? Yes. That's Mr. Majors walking away from you, back towards those people, right? Yeah, we were both walking out of the car, and walking towards Chloe. No, if you've watched the replay of that, she beelines to Chloe, he keeps going. It's like, why does she need to even say that? Chloe just pulled you away from Mr. Majors, right? Yeah. As you're following Mr. Majors, I went with him and... Can you repeat that? I don't quite understand what you mean. Okay, guys. In the chat, how complicated is this question?
Are you following Majors?
How complicated is this question?
She just does not want to admit that this was not a mutual situation. She wants it to always sound as though they were doing things together. Or at the same time, or were equally as culpable for whatever was going on. No,
Can you
were following him, and Chloe was like, bitch,
like, girl, this is crazy. Like, we gotta get to a birthday party, and I need to get this girl to stop crying so we can go to our party.
Right, you holding us up. Like, come on, or get in the car, one of the two.
But anyway, as you're following Mr. Majors, I went with him, and can you repeat that? I don't quite understand what you mean. You were following Mr. Majors out of the car, correct? Yeah. And you were walking behind him, right? Yes. We just saw Chloe pull you out of the path that you were walking on, right? Yes. So I play a little bit more of the video. Mr. Majors, the front of his entire white top is showing now, correct? It will appear so, yes. So weird language again. And that's because you just ripped the buttons off his coat, correct? Right? Yes. Yeah. What we're about to watch is car 3, correct? Yes. This is the 3rd time you're going to get in the car. This is another view of what we just saw in car 2. So that's Mr. Majors getting out of the car, stepping onto the floor, right? Yes. And that's Mr. Majors who just helped you out of the car, correct? I wouldn't say that, no. That's Mr. Majors walking, another angle, and that's you walking after him and Chloe pulling you aside, right? Yes, yeah. It's another angle of what we just saw, Mr. Majors walking back to the car with his white top exposed because the buttons are ripped off his coat, correct? Yes. Objection, overruled. That's Max in the... They're probably going to say ask and answered, but it's a different video, so it's a different question.
Mm-hmm.
That's Max in the white hat, Shams in the gray, and at this time, the car door on the passenger side is open, correct? Yeah, yes, yes. That's a better angle for you. And on the left side, on the driver's side, Chloe is standing there. On the right side, Shams and Max are standing there. Both of the cars are open. The car doors are open, correct? Yes. And you and Mr. Majors are both inside the car now, right? It will appear to be true, yes. Why does she keep saying it will appear to be true?
Right, like what?
And this is the part where you testified earlier. You couldn't remember where either of you were seated, right? Yes, yes. And at this time, Mr. Majors is asking you to take objection, sustained. At this time, the car is available for you. Oh, she's going to ask her to take the car.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, the car is available and the reason this is objected to is because it's asking, so it would be hearsay. They're going to say it's going to be hearsay, even though it's a party. So that's weird.
Yeah, because you can say what he told you directly.
Yeah, so maybe the judge just wasn't sharp on that moment. At this time, the car's available for you to take anywhere you want to go. And I'm sure that that's what she was going to say. Mr. Mage is asking you to take the car because she rewords the question here to make it appropriate, and they object again.
I'm positive he said that.
Yep. At this time, the car's available. And I think they testified to it earlier. Because she's like, oh, he said we could take the car. We decided that he would go to a hotel for the night. Yeah. She said that on direct. At this time, the car's available for you to take anywhere you want to go, correct? You understood that, right? Objection. What I understand, what you just said, or what he said. Rephrase your question. At this time, you knew the car would take you wherever you wanted to go, right? I wouldn't want to say that. Right now, I remember, like, eventually that's what I learned, he said. Yeah, I wouldn't want to say yes exactly at this point. Whatever.
But he paid for the car. That's what they do.
Then how else would you not have known that at that point already? He's in the car with you speaking at this point, and this is where it's determined.
Right.
So you're the one sitting closest to him. Not that I'd be surprised if you weren't listening to him, because you don't seem to listen to him, but whatever. At this time, Mr. Mages told you wanted Mr. Mages to, and they object, and I guess there's no sustained or anything, but he wanted Mr. Mages to come home with you to the apartment, right? I'm not sure I remember what I wanted at that point in terms of that. Well, did you want him to leave and go to a hotel? I think I wanted him to explain his infidelity. That I remember. But what about wanting him to leave and go to a hotel? Did you want that? Objection. Asked and answered. She didn't answer. Yeah, he wants the tea here.
Right.
She didn't answer. Do you understand the question? No. Sorry. Oh, the associate says no. Ask the question again. At the time, maybe that's supposed to say witness. At the time, did you want Mr. Mages to leave you and go to a hotel by himself? No. I imagine, bless you. I imagine I wanted him to stay and talk about what he had done. And that's the infidelity? Yes.
This child is nuts. I mean, nuts.
Hold on, I'm clipping that. It's always been what it's been all about.
No matter what. She could have got hit by 3 cars and a motorcycle. All I cared about was the infidelity. Did you feel the pain from being hit by 3 cars and a motorcycle? All I was focused on was the infidelity.
I'm sorry.
The infidelity, like it's a third party in a relationship, the fourth party in a relationship, the infidelity. Him, her, Cleopatra, and the infidelity.
Someone's gonna come at me for like only clipping a partial part there, but it stops there. It just says yes, period, and then they move on.
Right.
Were you able to see in that video right there that Mr. Mages just got out of the car on the left? I actually wasn't. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah, because you're probably just realizing you just said the infidelity thing and nothing else. You didn't go through that whole line of what has she been saying now? I learned not to fight back and all the violence of how he is. Mr. Jabbari, were you able to see in that video right there that Mr. Mages just got out of the car on the left? So that would be the passenger driver's side. I actually wasn't. Sorry, I didn't see that. Go back. Well, actually, maybe if it's a different angle of the car. I shouldn't assert that because they haven't established what angle this angle's from. So Max is standing with the white hat on the left side of the car, and Chloe is also standing on the left side of the car, correct?
I believe so.
So I believe so, yes. Yeah, she's doing her phrase again. Did you see Mr. Mages get out of the car? I did. And he's now walking out of the car, away from the car, down the screen. You saw that, right? I did see that, yes. This is the beginning of the entry to Lucy's, correct? Do you recognize that? Yes, correct. So we're all done with the cars? All the cars are done, sir. I don't want to repeat testimony. Let's move on. I think we're at the club now. And then, so this is going to get into the club. We are 84 into 188 pages in. So that's a whopper right there. But we can go over, look at some comments. So Danny, okay, so you obviously were not in court this day. You are going by whatever you would have seen that, you know, obviously Jimmy had to tell it to me and then I had to put it in a video. So that's like a layer on a layer. But that was your background information for the day you're not there. But you still have an awareness and knowledge of the demeanor of the judge, the demeanor of Jabbari, the demeanor of how Priya asks her questions. So, like, one, like, was there anything here that you're like, was like a light bulb for you to see because you didn't get to see it yourself?
No, not really. The only thing that kind of threw me off was when she used the language of insinuating that there was, and that's what I'm trying to figure. I don't know if she was saying in that moment that he didn't want her telling people about whatever he did to her or does to her. That kind of threw me off because I know the day that I was there was not specific testimony, but there was insinuation that nothing physical had ever happened before.
Yeah, she doesn't testify to anything physical. It's
right.
The worst. So the worst is him throwing a candle at a wall.
Right, and he obviously qualified that the other night during the interview. So, that was the only thing that threw me off. Everything else was pretty much. It seemed like it was repetitive. Like they just kept asking her the same stuff to kind of see if she would
draw out the.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't my right hand. I didn't say it was my right hand.
Right. I do know that the 2 days that I did see her demeanor. I said this before. While she was, even though she had a couple of crying spells on direct, she would always come back smiling, which was weird.
Yeah.
She would back up on the stand and be right back to her jipper self, which was very strange. But with the defense cross, she was like Jekyll and Hyde. It was two different people. So while you're reading the stuff, it just sounds, status quo. Her whole demeanor changed. She almost looked like a different person. Not your typical, I got an attitude because I don't like the defense type thing. It was more like a light switch flipped.
Like, I gotta really, this isn't just a walk in the park anymore because it's not my BFF Kelly Galloway asking me questions.
Right, and like her whole, her countenance changed, her mood, her attitude, the tone of voice changed. It wasn't, it was weird. So that was another thing I noticed because I was like, is she like split personality or
Denise with the come up? She said she would have pulled her phone out and recorded this chase. She would have been like, I got this. She would have been running right behind Jabbari. She would have been like, I got this video of this chick chasing Jonathan Majors through.
Exactly. I said the same thing. I thought it'd be a tourist stop for me. I'm not going nowhere.
Can you imagine if someone that's so crazy? Like, but it's because it's New York City and most other places, not every other place, but if it happened like where I stay over in Cocoa in Florida, if this happened, anyone in a car would be like, hey man, what's going on? Like someone would say something, but in New York, they're just like, someone's running down the street again. It's no big deal.
Right.
Typical.
Nobody paid attention to.
She can't recognize her own handbag. Right. Anything that she's asked to ask a question for, if it's Priya answering it, she doesn't know what it is.
She doesn't know anything.
Yeah, this whole video, I have requested it. I hope that they send me the compilation exhibit. I'm sorry she can't recognize. Yeah, she can't recognize someone giving her own handbag in a video of herself taking said handbag.
Right.
Because she doesn't want to admit that she could just move on at this point because she knows that there's more. She knows that they get back in the car again. So at this point, she has her handbag. This is her reason for, I didn't want to go back to talking about the infidelity, or if anything, it was the infidelity and the handbag. So the infidelity was only a little part of it. But then we get that little thing that I just pull quoted where, what did she say? No, I imagined I wanted him to stay and talk about what he had done. And that's the infidelity? Yes. Like, that's it. She doesn't want to admit the handbag because if she admits that she gets the handbag back in her possession out loud to the jury, if that's clear and it's reiterated and it gives you a chance to marinate on it and think about it, then there's no reason that you need to be standing there talking or trying to talk to Jonathan Majors anymore. Because you said you were only chasing him to the car the second time because you needed to get your stuff out of the car. Now you've got it. So what's your excuse now? So that's why she won't admit it. What the color of your eyes? Okay, and I pulled it up during the thing because that's like really how this feels. Can you repeat the question? I don't want to answer it. I need more time to think about my answer.
Time to think of the answer, exactly.
See, as I said, for me, Danny, did the judge have the hots for her like that one juror? I mean, it's possible, but the way he it really seems like he just wants to hear what he wants to hear sometimes.
Yeah, because like the
or
stuff
when he's
he wants
tired
to
of
hear, he
something, he's
kind of
like, move
leans
on.
back. Mhm. But he's old. He's in his 60s easily.
Yeah, so Tracker, I'm gonna have to go back and look for these buttons and pops. I did pull up the area of it, but I didn't want to sit there reading through each of the questions because Priya will wrap around. She'll do the bunch of questions. And what was this doing at this time? What was this doing at this time? I didn't want to like clog up the stream by just sitting here in silence trying to read all the questions to find it. Wish it was just a crush, but reality is more similar. Do you know Priya's watching? I mean, I don't doubt that people have like social media, but I've guarantee you they've combed through these transcripts themselves. It's on video, but it doesn't, if you have a good point about this case, that's why like go ahead and post it on X, go ahead and post it in a comment somewhere, because you never know who's going to see it and get the attention to the right person.
Right. I'm sure they got the legal assistants on here.
Yeah, sitting there like it's on video. You were following her. Yeah, guys, if you're on this and you want to send me the defense exhibits, if you want to send me whatever it is, I'll comb through all of it. Like I'll do that all day. I have no problem doing that type of stuff.
Right.
Because I have to make things make sense. I've got to figure it out. But yeah, this is the thing. It's on video. You were following him. Just admit it. Like this is the weirdest case. Poor director. She must be a nightmare to. But at the same time, it's easier to remember what you're hearing someone say than try to catch all the details in what's on screen when there's other things going on. So, those moments where she was like, sorry, I was looking at Chloe. I didn't watch what Jonathan was doing. I think that's actually like valid to say, you're looking at a 13-second clip of something and there's 3 people in it and you see 2 of them moving. Your eyes might just watch the one and not really catch on the first play what everyone's doing. So, but yeah, it's on video. But I think out loud in the courtroom, unless the jury wants to replay something and rewatch it over and over, or Priya makes something clear by asking a lot of questions about it, which is why I'm very mad that the judge curbed that one part we just talked about 10 minutes ago. The judge, the defense attorney needs to be able to ask the questions because that's what drives the point home. If you watch something and it goes by, there might have been something noticeable about it, but it's not going to stick if you have to turn and focus on words that are being said.
Right.
But yeah, so I think Jabbari knows if she doesn't admit to it, she's not putting the words into the air.
And
then poor director, she must be a nightmare to work with as a movement coach. Imagine her as a girlfriend. Good Lord. And this is probably about like the GMA thing. Is the whole interview officially dropping tomorrow for sure? Because that would be Thursday.
I think so. Well, I would hope they do it from beginning to end, but if not, it'll probably just be the rest of it, and then because I've noticed they put out parts 1, 2, and 3 already on YouTube. So
yeah, they'll probably put it together. It might be ordered a different way. And then the whole interview. Is she shaking a fucking magic 8-ball bird? That's why she doesn't know. She shook it too much, so it's like blurry, and you gotta wait for it to clear up.
Right.
I see why that one juror went to sleep. Listening to her not remember stuff had to be exhausting.
Yeah.
On a top dancing cracker. I've never heard that phrase. I just wanted to know who he was cheating with on me. That's what it's always been about. Same thing happened to Tiger Woods. His ex broke up, but he went to the airport and was like, "Here you go. I'm leaving." Broke his. I didn't. I vaguely remember that. I didn't remember that she broke his jaw. That's insane. While he was driving. I think I remember the car crash part, but I don't remember.
They kept blaming it on opioids, that he was zooted up on pain meds.
Is that why his jaw looks a little like more swole now? Because his head is still kind of little, like he still has the same frame.
He has he has real big cheeks, or whatever you want to call them.
But like, I feel like there's like that meme of him now where he looks like he's golfing. He's in like a pink polo golf shirt. But his jowls look a little down here, not his here. This looks like it filled out more to match this. Yeah, is that because it got broken?
I don't really follow him too tough.
Me either. So I never even knew.
Maybe Jabbari should have went with him. He clearly won't call the police.
He's like, please just go away. And then we're
Oh,
here. We try.
thank you.
And I mean, like, Danny literally showed all the way up, went all the way up to New York to do it. So, and then I'm learning so much watching you ladies. Well, we try. I absolutely don't know everything, and I'm definitely not a lawyer. So,
Yeah, I'm
I mean, I
not. I
try
just
not to
play
step
one on
outside my
YouTube.
bounds, but I just play with. So we've got to get these sleigh tech shirts. So Ariana Jacobs has a clothing brand with like latex clothing, so it's like spandex and form fitting and cute. But she has one that says, "I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on YouTube." We
Oh,
got to get
really?
those. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll go
wow.
find it. I'll go find her and find her store because I think it was unlisted. She didn't have it listed in the storefront.
Okay.
Oh, you gotta get those and wear them. I told Heinz he has to get one because there's one that's like, you know, a onesie for like a onesie for a girl. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a t-shirt, but it like buttons.
Leotard or
Yeah, they have
leotard,
one of
yeah.
those. So I said that Heinz should get one of the leotard ones.
Snappable crotch.
So, but it's like too fitting. It's too good. And what else do we have? She said that he had done so that the jury would think she was talking about the slapping, attacking, and feeling his weight. She didn't think Priya would clarify infidelity. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're right. What he had done. So,
Yeah, because I'm
yeah,
like,
because
what? Where'd that come from?
every time she's supposed to talk about the what he had done, she always leaves it general like that, like the what he had done, because she doesn't want to
Hmm.
list it out because it's either going to be inconsistent or because it wasn't true. She doesn't want to lie. So if
Right.
you just leave it vague, if you just say what he had done, nobody can say you were lying about him saying he did something because
Hmm.
something, everybody does something every moment, right? So
Right.
he tried to flee and crash after being attacked. Yeah, he's just like, let me go to bed. Man, you ever had one of those days and you finally get to, and I love my own bed. I love being in my own bed. I can't wait to be back at home. But when you're traveling, when you've had a long day and you get to that hotel, even if it's not like the hotel doesn't have the pillows you like, doesn't have the bed you like,
Yeah.
but that
The
moment where
blankets
you're
aren't
there in
thick enough.
peace, you're
Right.
just like, I'll take it. This is great because of the day I've had. So
Hmm.
hopefully that moment was like that for him. And then Grace did throw something on the ground, but during cross, Grace didn't bite when Priya asked, so it wasn't introduced. Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. What did she throw? Coke? Like, what was it?
Man, if we can get that exhibit, like we can look at least the size of it. If it's not clear, like if it's like a product that would have words, like a label on it, we
Hmm.
obviously won't be able to read it, but we could be able to say like it looks like the size of a blank. And we
Right.
could kind of like work backwards
Like
from
a
that.
bag of smack. Who knows? I've run across those a couple of times here in Florida.
But I feel like it's probably something. I shouldn't say probably. I feel like it could be like a piece of jewelry or something. You know, like girls can sometimes put jewelry in their purse that they don't want to wear in the
Hmm.
moment. Um, but you throw something on the ground, if it's one like maybe it was like a watch, maybe it was a necklace or something that she was wearing, but it was a gift from him, and she's doing it because I'm thinking this happens when he's trying to walk away, and this is like he's backing away. He's about to like
Hmm.
they end up showing a surveillance footage of him walking alone after all this car 3 happens, and that's the final thing. He catches the cab, goes to a hotel. But if he's still in sight, if he's still right there about to leave, you know, a way to keep an argument going, something that I gave to you as a gift, Danny. You and I are fighting and you're done. You're about to the moment's cooling down for you, but I still want to argue, and you gifted me a watch and I throw it on the
Right.
ground cuz I'm done with you. I'm mad at you. It could upset you so much that now you continue
Hmm.
to continue to argue with me. So it's possible what she threw isn't something like sneaky that she shouldn't have had on her. It could be
Hmm.
something that she figured would get a reaction out of him for her to throw it right there on the ground in
And
front of
he did
him.
not care.
And that takes me back to these other stories that she's told where we have this whole text message story and he was the one on a rampage throwing things in bins, throwing things around. And then we have this text message about her needing stronger sleeping pills because I'll just tell them I bumped my head. We've got to be
Hmm.
careful when we talk about that story, guys. We're not talking about the head bump because there is no head bump. She's saying she'll
Right.
tell them.
She said that's what she'll say, and that's what people are
Yep.
not
So there is no head bump.
registering.
And you've
Right.
got to be out there keyboard warrioring against that when you see people saying that. Well, explain the bump on her head. No, you
Hmm.
go back and read the text messages and realize that there is no bump on the head, according to her own version of it. I'll just tell them that I bumped my
Yeah.
head. And the
Right.
implication that that's a lie. that she would do a lie. If it's a lie, then
It's
there's no
clear.
bump on the head.
Exactly. Because she
But
knew
further in those,
that's her go-to to get stronger painkillers, is to say something happened to her head, because she did the same thing
when she has trouble
found
sleeping.
her in the closet.
Yep. When she has trouble sleeping.
Same thing. She said she got struck in the head several times, and then the ER doctor testified she had no head injury. She did not complain of a head injury. They did not do any tests to check her head injury.
I think she's crazy. But, you know, going back to all that, it's like she could, in those text messages, and it wasn't anything that anybody harped on, she says right in there, I said I love you, obviously, and I didn't understand why you're asking me. You thought I broke your necklace. So she accuses him of throwing gifts on the ground, breaking gifts that she had bought for him. But in that text message, we only see a reference to her breaking a necklace, him thinking, according to her text message, him thinking she broke the necklace, and her going, I don't know why you would think that. And then in this moment, we hear that she's throwing something on the ground as he's done. And all I can picture is those moments where, like, you'd stand there and tear a photograph up in front of somebody, like some big dramatic show of action to get someone to be to talk to you, to react to you. Why would you just do that? Because at least they're standing there talking to you still. So that might not be the object that was thrown, but I think there was something in her purse that could have been a piece of jewelry that she was wearing. Threw it on the ground. And then let's see. I pulled up a comment here. And yeah, keep coming into these chats because you guys notice a lot of details too while we're busy like reading the stuff. Oh yeah, so the difference, it was like 26 letters. Priya's was 26 letters, and the defense response to the motion to dismiss was 115 pages. And it bothers me that that's not part of public record. Like, I mean, maybe at this point it could be requested, but
yeah.
I'm just confused to how this can be considered a fair trial. Did she not testify to putting hands on him at least twice? Exactly. But technically what people are going to tell you is he's not arguing self-defense, which would have required him to come up and say, I caused those injuries to her, but here's why I caused them. I was justified in doing so. So for her to be hitting him, it plausibly could be her defending herself, because she keeps saying, and this is more important in car 2 than car 1. In car 2, in testimony, she comes right up, he pushed me. Because she knows Priya's about to go on the attack about, you're grabbing him, you're pulling at him, you rip his buttons, you pull his coat. So as soon as she knows Priya's talking about car 2, she's like, we get in the car and he pushed me. Like, because she has to set the tone that he did something first.
Right.
Because she knows her actions were assault in nature. And she's not going to steal a Rolex and throw jewelry away. Not that chicken head. Well, that's true. But at this point, I don't think it was like I don't think she had like the Rolexes. It could have just been something else. In a statement, Brittany Henderson said, his denigration of our jury system is not dissimilar from the above-the-law attitude that he has maintained throughout his legal process. The timing of these new statements demonstrates a clear lack of remorse for the actions of which he was found guilty on. So this is her attorney, Brittany. What did I think her name was? Barbara?
Yeah.
And should make the sentencing decisions fairly easy for the court. It's crazy. I know the prosecution's going to ask for the full year. Like, they're going to just, like, want the max sentence for him just because it's a high-profile case and they want to spite him.
Even right. Stop.
But the judge, it's like, how do you know what the judge is going to do? So now there's going to be, we could see 2 appeal issues, right? Because we could see the appeal for the trial, the verdict, the decision, the judgment, and we could see an appeal for the sentencing. So, which would be like habeas corpus relief. So
this would be an extreme and egregious abuse of power if they, because at the end of the day, if you don't do that to the average Joe, why would you do that to him? First time offender?
They're making a mockery out of it. They're like, we got you. We got this white girl to cry on the stand. Yeah, she probably had a hangover as usual. He took responsibility for sweeping his candle off the side. Yeah, and actually that motion all makes sense, like, if you think about it, because all the stuff was like in the same direction of the floor.
Who hasn't done that though? Like,
yeah, I don't think, like, I don't know. And I would never suggest that someone having an angry moment. Like, you know how they make rage rooms now, right? Like, you can go and like break old computers and TV screens with axes and sledgehammers
Normalize
as
that
a
is insane to me.
yeah.
You're
Like, well, okay,
normalizing people destroying property instead of just
paying to destroy something is my
taking
problem. Like,
that.
if you want to just destroy old things, that's fine. But then you gotta think about paying for it. Like,
Yes,
you make a whole business model out of it.
Yeah.
And then she probably used his money to buy him gift. Yeah, which is like, I mean, that's every stay-at-home mom would have to do something like that technically, but at the same time for her,
get an OnlyFans.
yeah, but like at the same time for her, it's one of those things where, you know, she's like trying to flip the script. That's why it would be an issue.
She had money though. She testified that she had her own, not as much as him, obviously, but she said she had an account, but he told her to basically stop using it.
Yeah.
And card.
And maybe a gum wrapper because her breath smelled like a wino. Can you imagine being so angry, holding up a piece of gum, like the foil, and just being like throwing that little foil ball on the thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep in mind, both of her parents are lawyers. She was coached by both of them, plus the DA and the sister. And I know she gulped a margarita. I want to see that video so bad. And then OnlyFans is funny, Danny. And yeah, so, I don't know. I saw some moments here where she lied in this transcript. I'm not surprised by it, but in a way I was surprised by, like, how quickly some of the things I noticed slipped out. I didn't know it was broken at the time. Like, I guess technically you could argue she didn't know medically that it was broken. But, you know, you're not really saying that in a quick response. At that point, you're like, I didn't know what happened then. So.
Right.
And then I saw her hit her on the DJ booth. I don't know what she drinks, but I want no part. It was literally a bonk. Like, and she like got it. She was like, ah. And yeah, these lives are everything. I've never been so invested in cases like this. Yeah, usually I'm on the other side. Usually I'm in the chat. I love to watch The Lead Attorney. I don't know, Danny, have you ever watched The Lead Attorney on YouTube? He's got a pretty big following.
No, I don't. Y'all are the only reason why I'm on YouTube. I actually couldn't stand YouTube before now.
Oh my God. Well, you've got to watch some Lead Attorney. He's a 20-year divorce attorney in Atlanta. He's great. He's great as a content creator. Like, he's just got it down. But he's really insightful. And he was also like top level state mediator. And this is mostly the Atlanta area, Fulton County. So he was the one that had to go and navigate all these Atlanta couples fighting. Okay. So he's got stories. He's got insights. He's quick. He's sharp. So he'll do like these case readings sometimes. He'll follow live trials. And other times he like recently talked about the DJ Academics thing. He talked a little bit about Tasha K, but not in a way I wouldn't normally be interested in that. But he's just very insightful and very funny. So usually I'm in the chat of something like that. I'm on the other side of the equation.
Right.
But he's great. So just with what Love Rain is saying here, these lives are everything. Like, it's cool to be on the front facing side, but it's definitely always fun to be part of the chat. Like, in the chat screaming when something funny happens.
Right.
And then champagne and tequila. And then this judge is wilding, both with his decisions. Not a fair trial if his peers definitely want to see her peeping around the corner, sneaking the drink. I'm annoyed that she just left it there. Like, that's so like, it's like a bro move. I'm so glad that Danny set up a YouTube channel and I was right here, therefore. I remember a long time ago, I don't even remember what your comment was, but you commented something. It was like probably some detail before, I think it was before trial started, because I don't think your comment had anything to do with, I'm in the courtroom and this just happened. You'd commented on some video, maybe it was the week before when it was like the jury selection, the voir dire. And like, I remember your profile picture. And then I see you on Twitter, and then I learn that you're actually in court. And I'm like, why don't you just have a YouTube? And you're like, I'm only on Facebook. I'm not on YouTube. Yeah. So we're all like, okay, we're not going to promote Danny's YouTube channel, like, because she's not using it. So everyone go follow her on X. And here's the link to the,
They were my kids and maybe one of my other accounts.
And so now we're like, now you can actually go and follow. And her YouTube link is in the description. So if you don't already subscribe, you can do that really easily. And then I now understand my mother's fascination with the OJ trial. I mean, that was like nationwide. Yeah.
I was only a teenager, but I watched that one faithfully.
Yeah, and the girl's reckless. So leaving the drink there unattended, amongst other things, girl's reckless. Well, and that would be why someone might be concerned about you being at the Glastonbury Music Festival without answering your phone, sending a picture to my phone number that I didn't want anyone to have, you standing with a guy being like, tell him I'm safe with you. Like, I don't know. I'm a girl, but so it's not really like my boyfriend would ever be in a situation. The boyfriend's supposed to be the secure, strong one, right? But let's say I'm the guy and it's my girlfriend going to a festival and she takes a picture with another guy and it's like, look, I'm safe here.
Right.
And sends it to me.
That was stupid as hell. But look at who we're talking about.
Like, and then, and it's abusive for you to care. And then it's abusive that he wanted me to button up my buttons after we get in the elevator, after we just did something intimate, and my buttons are down to my belly button. I think it's fine to go out. She doesn't even have boobs, but in this clip, you can see, like, the middle of her side boob. Like, you can see, like, a little bit of depth there. So it's, like, obviously too much is unbuttoned, but he's controlling. So
she knows who the audience that she's playing toward. People,
yeah.
You know, of a certain generation or just of a certain level of dignity in their families know that that's usually how men that care about their women act. But you know, this whole spin now makes it controlling, abusive, and everything else. So I guess men need to stop walking on the outside of the curb too and let you get hit by the truck that jumped the curb.
No, parked on the sidewalk.
Because that's controlling too, you know, to walk on the outside and let you walk on the inside, or opening your door and not letting you do it yourself. You know, it's just like, come on, pick a struggle.
Yeah, but then when you break up, they'll be like, he wouldn't even open doors for me.
Right. That's controlling. I thought you wanted to open your own door.
With which hand? We got to go back to that part of the testimony.
With your right hand.
And then we got one more, and then we can probably wind it up. So in the GMA interview, her lawyer says, Ms. Jabbari will continue to speak the truth and seek justice in the appropriate forums in a continued effort to respect our legal process. Good luck.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't know anybody that wants to hear from her except for that handful of people that they're catering to.
I mean, I wonder, that to me just suggests that, you know, is Brittany affiliated with SFFNY? I'm sure she is.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, wait, hold on. There's a new... What article is this from? Stylecaster, where is Grace Jabbari now? Oh, it's just recapping like some of the statements we heard already, and bringing in it's not really anything new. It's just a blog trying to play off SEO. But yeah, that seems to imply, and sometimes these statements can be, they'll say like, oh, she's going to seek justice in the appropriate forums in a continued effort to respect our legal process. Well, I don't think continued effort to respect the legal process. It's never really been respected anyway.
Ever.
But
Ever.
sometimes lawyers will say that. That to me sounds like hey, please stop talking, not because we're going to litigate it, but please stop talking because my client doesn't want to be exposed.
Right.
That's a little bit the vibe I'm giving.
And
I wonder who's going to pay for exclusive interview or who's going to platform it. Well, I guess I'm abusive and controlling. Yeah, like if someone sent you, like, is that in reference to if your girl is just like hugged up and like, hey, look, I'm safe with him. What do y'all think the appropriate forums are? That's such a specific language. Appropriate forums to me means DV platforms. So they're really about to have her be the face of DV. Yeah, good luck with that. Because as soon as someone becomes the face of something, I think that's when people will come at you harder. Because, yeah, we're reading the transcript, so it sounds like we're coming at her constantly, but it's because we're reading her words.
Her own words, right.
I've never gone on Twitter and just sat there and been like, here's Grace Jabbari's background. She's goofy. Like, I've never gone beyond her exact anything in the courtroom or involved with this litigation. So even when I talk about SFFNY, it's not really talking about her support for a nonprofit. It's because I'm saying, hey, she had a very qualified attorney, Ross Kramer, appointed to her pro bono because of this charity that decided to represent her because she was pitched as a victim. So even all these little things are all tied back to this specific case. But when you go on and start doing something like this, pitching yourself as a survivor, continuing if you call yourself a survivor, the implication there is that someone abused you.
Right.
And now I'm going to have to go on the offense about that personally, your personality. And God forbid she wants to try to go on speaking tours or something like that, like get paid money to do I'll be on her ass.
Not on my
And to me, her recording him is obvious that she was setting something up. I feel the same way. Yeah, the recording, yeah. And then I don't know how some people quickly flock to her side. Wouldn't be surprised if she got the same treatment. It's just people see that it's the believe women thing. And in this case, easier to believe against him. She would unravel if they tried to do that. No way she'd be able to keep up the lies. Oh, she'd unravel and she can't handle the public pressure. She can't handle going on this, and she's searching for it. She goes on the internet to see what people are thinking about her. And she will not be able to take it if people come criticizing on her. Because now, if you go to these forums, people are going to go to those forums and start commenting. If you pitch yourself as somebody that you're not, people are mad at you. People are mad at what you've done. And if you try to take it a step further in a way to benefit yourself, they're going to be more mad and they're going to find a way to direct that anger and bring that anger to you. Right now, people are angry talking on Twitter, not to you.
Right.
But if you go on and do that, people are going to come talk directly to you. And I don't think you're built for that.
No.
Now that would show that anyone that would be a victim. And then Tawny Kitty beating her husband and went to jail for it. I'm not familiar with that. But it's not like you don't hear these stories. It's not just men beating women. It's just not. It's not one-sided that way. And then financial things, false accusations are largely stemmed with financial dependence. The majority of extortion is committed by women, statistically speaking. So, you take that type of thing into mind. Extortion can ruin someone's life because I could accuse you of something. It might not be me extorting money from you, but I can put you through the court system and accuse you of something that could be criminal to get something out of you. And that accusation could be something that could come with criminal charges. They could put you behind bars for many years of your life. So effectively, I'm not killing you literally, but I'm taking your life from you. So...
Really, Tracker, I'm not that old. I've heard of Tawny Katane, but she's like my mom's age. Chill out. I just don't remember the case. But now that you said the redhead, I remember who she is. But that lady's old, okay?
Yeah, and they still want to collect. That's why she did the birthday shout out. But let's wrap it up here. We got one last one. So I believe the GMA mentioning she wasn't charged is slightly exposing the Manhattan DA's shadiness because it is very sus. I'm glad that was given attention. And yeah, I see a lot of attorneys say, hey, if it can interrupt Fifth Amendment stuff if you're trying to charge two people that would be opposing each other in their respective cases. But at the same time...
But that makes no sense because they do that with organized crime and Ponzi schemes and everything else all the time.
Well, I think on one hand, especially a small charge, they would end up both just not having anything. But with this, it's a little bit different because it's not just a cross complaint. It's a cross complaint where they didn't even look into the second one to make the decision. And that's a Brady violation. And then they didn't disclose anything relating to that to the defense, which is also a Brady violation and a violation of the respective New York State statute that is similar to a federal Brady violation. So that's where that comes into play. But yeah, she's out there calling herself a survivor. So, but yeah, let's wrap it up here. Danny, I'll touch base with you. I probably have the same, tomorrow I'm actually going in to help. And it's the full rehearsal and the final start Friday, so it may be a late day for me. So I'm not sure if anything's in the cards to go live, but I'll get in touch with you to see if we can finish reading up day 7, the day that you were not there. So thank you so much for joining me. Oh, where'd my video go?
She's like, you turned off the camera.
It's like doing something. I don't know what it's doing.
It?
But anyway, yeah, it just beeped. My computer beeped. So I must have hit something. But anyway, perfect time to wrap it up. You guys all have a good night. Danny, you have a good night. Danny's link is in the description, you guys. And remember, go on X and push back if people follow Jabbari's bullshit and don't know what it actually says in the transcripts.
Right.
They're right there for you. They're right in the description. You guys all have a good night. Take care.
Bye.